Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. We've got probably a bit of a blockbuster episode, a lot to talk about, and also, honestly, just a lot of chaos and mess. In between the Counter-Strike being played and the rumors and the leaks and everything else, it's not making that much sense. Like, just how everything's been bombarding us all week. It's been really hard to piece together exactly what's going down, what to believe, what not to believe. But we do have, obviously, one huge leak that we've kind of been expecting, although slightly at a different time than we were expecting it to really happen. We're going to get into all of that, obviously, in the show. Before we get into any of the topics, we know Bucharest is going on right now, so if you want to listen to this, keep Bucharest on. I probably would too. Honestly, can't blame you. That seems like the better way to do it. But all right. Got to thank someone. The members for making this content viable, making it available on other platforms. Without you guys, it'd be literally impossible. So today's also the member Q&A. We're going to be answering a couple questions from members that were left on posts posted for members over the last week. But yeah, we've got interviews with members of the community. We've got BTS. And of course, we have prospect demos every week for the members. Members also get the right to vote on episodes of prospects and have their voice heard in general across the content. So yeah, if you want to become a member, please do. It's pretty cheap, and there's a lot that comes with it. Quack, anything to promo you've been writing this week?
Yes, I wrote an editorial on April 1st because it's April Fool's, and brands do bad and less bad April Fool's jokes every year. And this year was, I thought, you know, some newspapers put out April Fool's articles, which are to varying degrees obvious April Fool's jokes, but I couldn't come up with anything, so I figured I'll just rate what everybody else is doing. So that's what I did. It was actually, honestly, that was pretty fun to write. I got to flex some like more, because I was writing much more for the humor than the actual content, and I thought that was fun to do, and I was pretty happy with it. Shout out to the two best April Fool's jokes. Dust2DK made a whole ass new website just for an April Fool's joke, just1.dk, where they have a bunch of articles about Danish inside jokes, like, oh, the headline, Hunden in surgery, and then when you actually click on the article, it's actually just like the boss of Dust2, Martin Rosenbeck. It's actually just an article about his dog having surgery.
That's pretty.
And then
good.
there was the one, I don't know if you remember when Mertz, he said if his team didn't progress in the Danish Power League, he was going to shave his head 2 years ago, and then his team didn't progress. So they wrote a whole article about Mertz finally shaves his head. It's like a quote about my hair was screaming for a trip to Turkey anyway. So that kind of humor. Yeah, it was really fun. It was really funny. And the second one, Big Clan, they put out an April Fool's joke so obscure that it actually fooled HLTV's transfer page for a couple of hours, because they announced their new coach. Yeah, they announced their new coach, and they said it was Zonix with 2 X's, who is an old Counter-Strike player who I think is a streamer for them. But that's entirely reasonable. Like, he's an old Counter-Strike player. He could very reasonably coach a pro team. So nobody got it until a couple of hours later. And I'm assuming some poor sod at HLTV started writing an article about Big getting a new coach and had to scrap it. So, but that's the only one I saw which actually fooled anybody.
Probably halfway through reaching out and trying to get a response from Big, there's someone pinging like, yo, it's a joke, it's a joke.
It's a joke. It's the one, like, the best one and the worst one is 2 years ago when, like, a couple of days before the major qualifier, before the RMR, Monty put out that Boros was going to miss it. Like, at midnight to April Fools, they put out that Boros had visa issues and was going to miss the RMR as an April Fool's joke. And Stryker wrote the whole article, put it all out, and then, like, at midnight, and then in the middle of the night, somebody's like, this is a fucking April Fool's joke, dude. You have to take this down. And that's just not funny. But it was really funny. The whole situation.
Rank-wise pretty good. Yeah, it's just... Of course we're going to believe you, bro. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it just makes no sense. Why would... Yeah, anyway. That was it. No, I think that's the only thing I have to promo. You should sponsor this show. I guess that's my promo. Otherwise.
Okay. Anyone watching,
become a member. Become a member, but if you have a business, you should sponsor us instead. That's even better.
Hemorrhoid creams especially. No, I think we got a
I
great
would
market for that.
shill the shit out of hemorrhoid creams if you pay me for it. I'll get hemorrhoids just so I can like confidently say these work. Like if you pay me to do it, I do it. I don't know how you purposefully get hemorrhoids, but I would.
I don't know, something about your shitting position. Like, how do hemorrhoids
that's
happen?
how
I
much
spelled
brand
hemorrhoids
loyalty
so
I
wrong.
will have. That's how much loyalty I will have to your brand if you pay me. Thank you.
Hemorrhoids happen
know,
when there is too much pressure on the veins around the anus, often due to straining during bowel movements. I don't think we need to get into any more detail on that, right?
Oh yeah, did you put the chat on everybody mode? Unlike last week.
Last week it was set separately. Like, it should be fine.
All right, good.
Yeah, anyone
anyone
can chat. Yeah.
Is anybody even here?
Quack, shut the fuck. Just we aren't live streaming this. We're doing our podcast live. What are you doing, a Zeus impression? Come on. It's completely out of touch with what you're supposed to be doing. Right, it is the member Q&A, and our first Q&A question of the episode. So we're going to spread them out. We used to do them all in a massive block, and I always thought, like, that's just an invitation for people to just skip the block. I was like, it makes more sense to just spread them out, especially these ones are CS related, so it'll add us a little like a appetite cleanser when we get to the next one as well. This one's from fanoose. Would you guys be in favor of releasing all voice comms like how demos are released, the full CS experience? I'm going to just throw this out there. Before we get into our preferences, teams are going to veto that immediately. Like, there's no way they want to do that or will be willing to let everyone just hear all their comms from the entire game. That's crazy.
No, and I don't think that's a good idea either. I think maybe the best solution would be if we weren't using TeamSpeak and we like there was a better VoIP solution in CS, because then you could have it in the demo. And then there wouldn't be a question about it. But I think we need more, because that's been a debate we've had over this past few weeks with how various clips have made out teams to be when it maybe isn't the case. And Prof said this on HLTV Confirmed. We need more of all of this, but it has to be every team, because right now it's a lot of G2, it's a lot of Falcons, it's a lot of Na'Vi. And we don't see a lot of clips from, like, the broadcast doesn't put up a lot of clips about like FaZe, because they're not saying something funny or something headline worthy. But you know, we should have that. And to be fair, like they do put up some stuff, but like, yeah, we should have more on the broadcast. We should maybe just like one thing per game. Just put out like a comms thing, which is interesting. And that's obviously hard for like teams that don't speak English, because some poor production guy at last is gonna have to like try to find a Turkish translator on short notice, because maybe Eternal Fire said something funny during this round.
No, you can't reasonably expect people to pull like comms they don't understand into a broadcast and just assume this is fine for broadcast. That how are you supposed to? Am I supposed to learn 12 different languages just to work as an observer / production member? Like, in terms of that sense,
no.
Like, that's impossible to ask. Especially, it's also ridiculous to ask a company to go and hire someone who speaks every damn language just to sit there. And so obviously the teams that speak English are going to be prioritized. Maybe if you're lucky, like let's say it's a Nexus playing event, a PGL event, and PGL obviously might have a Romanian guy around. They'll be able to pluck something out. But then at the same time, you just put it out in front of the general viewing public, who are going to be sat there like, wow, that was some fantastically nonsensical drivel. What am I supposed to make of this? Unless they're literally just shouting and being animated, I don't think you'll get much out of it as a viewer either. So from that side of things, it feels just like we're going to have a disparity no matter what. So I get that we want to kind of balance out the disparity amongst the English speakers. But overall, we're still going to have teams that are just going to be like, you never release our comms, you never show our comms on stream. Thank you. But also, it makes no sense to do it. So it's a bit of an odd situation.
I think it would be fun. I mean, we already have a bunch because a bunch of teams put out their stuff themselves. Like Heroic do it a lot. Kerrigan started doing it for FaZe on his own channel for like a lot of games.
It's heavily edited though. That's the thing, and they get to control narratives, control what gets said. Like,
that's actually, to be fair, we don't know if things are said when they are said, but you know, it's more so for entertainment than news value, because you're not going to get the news value you get out of tasks having a timeout and saying we need to win more rounds, guys. That's not, you're not going to get that from every team. You're not going to get anything like that, but you're going to get something. And I think it would be cool if we had like, what if it was just practice that like a couple of days after every LAN we had a mic'd up thing which came out, and a bunch of teams do it. Like they do it and like, here's the best moments from that we found on the broadcast. And you know, some of it is the same team, some of it is different teams, and then you could do the translations or subtitling or whatever. We had it a lot. We had it a bunch for Russian teams.
Yeah.
Back in the so
the one thing I just should bring to this that's like an objection to the team's objection is the idea. I mean, we've had this problem before in CS where people are like, what if they know our strats? They know our strat book. Pretty much every NFL coach's strat book is known. Now, because exact strat books year by year are changed, so there are possibly like 1 or 2 new additions. 98% of NFL plays from every team are very well understood. And how coaches are going to call is entirely understood. In terms of the things they will call, what matters is the when, right? The level of execution, these sorts of ideas. It's not just, these are his strats. Other problem, NFL strat books are this thick. But still, there's a certain amount of it where I'm just, I think it's overblown, the problem, and I think more of what's, in terms of the strats idea problem, I think the bigger issue is actually just people don't want their dirty laundry yet.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think that should be in control of the teams, to be honest. I think it's already a fine line, because all the TOs, they record stuff, both for like moderation or sort of administrative reasons. Like, you record the comms for a reason. It's not just entertainment. You record it because, you know, if there's foul play or whatever. Especially online. And then, you know, you have some online tournaments. And then you know, they do it for the broadcast. So I think they should be in control of the broadcast. If you don't want dirty laundry aired, don't say it in the match. Like, we're already at that point where, like, the TO could release anything you say. So maybe don't say it on record. So we're already there. I mean, yeah, and then it's also like, it's high stakes. This is something which gets brought up in Formula 1 a lot, because everything there is recorded and could be broadcast, frequently does get broadcast. And a lot of time they get a lot of questions like, why did you say this word? That's silly. I think Max Verstappen got in trouble for saying a word which he didn't know had a racial connotation when he got pissed, because he almost crashed into somebody at high speed, which would have been really dangerous. And then like the response to that is always like, if you put a mic on a football player, you're going to get exactly the same thing. But you don't put a mic on a football player. So, you know, it's the context. We have the ability to record, therefore it's sort of heat of the moment sometimes. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think TOs should be in control. I don't think the team should be in control of this. But the TOs should also need to be fair, because you can't just have, here's the latest Zonic clip, here's the latest Snacks clip, and that can't be everything.
The problem we have, though, is that TOs who control the broadcast have the right to put what they want on the broadcast. You know who has the complete access to pretty much everything everyone says on their entire game and never seems to air dirty laundry? The NFL. The NFL is mic'd up everyone. There's specific players who are mic'd up for broadcast, but they have mics everywhere. They never showed like players fighting on broadcast. They never released their voice like they have, like, you know, weekly montages as the season goes on of the actual players who are mic'd up. At no point do they air anything that's actually grievances, dirty laundry. They never leak strategy. They never do anything like that.
Yeah, you don't have to do that,
and you shouldn't really, if you want people to enter it with actual good intent, and it to not be a distraction or detraction from the end product. You should be like consciously trying to avoid just leaking stuff and showing off all this negativity. That's essentially what's become best practice in big sports. I get that we want to make it fair. Like, oh, we've already aired some of their laundry. We should be showing off everyone's. So, like, no, we shouldn't be showing anyone's, really. Like, if you want to make a higher quality product and you want to allow teams to still be themselves, you should be tailoring what you show on broadcast to be safe for them to, actually express themselves and be themselves. You don't have to worry about, oh, fuck. Me and Nico got into a bit of a debate on that round. I hope Blast doesn't just put that out onto the fucking stream. That shouldn't have to be a thought in your head. You should be able to communicate as you need to, and if it's in the heat of the moment, a little bit emotionally, it should be allowed to come out without having everyone sit there and just be like, what if it's on stream, though? What will Reddit think? There shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's also a matter of definition what dirty laundry would be, because obviously if you have somebody saying something they shouldn't, there's an old Neo frag clip which is thrown around sometimes. For example, that stuff shouldn't be aired. That's definitely beyond the line of what I think would be acceptable. But then you also have stuff like if it's let's say the Falcons clip where Zonic is just quiet. Is that dirty laundry or is that just interesting?
No, that's exactly the kind of thing you wouldn't want on broadcast if you're a coach and you're a player. That's exactly the kind of thing that should be amongst yourselves and within you. Like, the fact that you have a out of context combative clip, like, between a player and a coach, should not come out. Like, just like that. It shouldn't come out.
Probably not, yeah. But then you also have... it's more like... And then also when you have the LXV and Imma thing, they would explain that, like, this is absolutely nothing abnormal.
Yeah,
but when you
play it out of context, which you are because you are doing a clip, like,
everything's always going to be out of context. It's hard to put that stuff into proper context.
I mean, how dumb do you have to be to listen to that and go, they sound like they're having a jovial conversation. Let me put that on broadcast. We're adults, come on. We're not stupid. Like, we know that sounds like two people arguing. Again, that's why it's of interest. But it's people arguing. We shouldn't be putting that on broadcast because it'll put people on edge as to what they can and can't say in their own damn comms.
How about this? What if you did something? You found a couple of interesting clips, you saved them, and you did a show where you sit down with the people involved and, like, briefly they get to explain the context. That could be quite fun.
I mean, that could be, but you'd have to pre-clear it and then waste a bunch of their time to sit there.
Yeah, I mean, you already do this because you have. I think Blast, they were, like, showing clips when they talking with players post game. I mean this happens a lot, but I saw it with Blast specifically. But they show them, like, a clutch or a play or something, and then they get to talk about the play. And it's like Major had that.
Play's a play.
Ace clutch.
That's fine.
Yeah. But then you could do the same thing. Like, we had this clip. Listen to these comms. What's going on here? And then somebody could go. You could get some stuff like maybe if you did it for Falcons now, you could be Dexter would be like, oh, man, but I'm screwed. Like, like, you could get something fun like that. You could, or you could get stuff like what they actually did, which was like a couple of weeks or days or weeks later when they actually had Emma on the desk and they asked about that clip and he said it was bullshit and he explained the context. What if you did that from the start and the context was there? Then it wouldn't be out of context. You would waste a little bit of their time, but it's like, there's managers. Like, there's somebody you could be like, hey, just check out this clip, which is couple of seconds long. Can we air this and talk to your player for 2 minutes while they explain the context? And that would be like a fun thing you could play before a game, like as a context thing.
Could be. Or we could just avoid having this conversation by not putting that sort of thing on the broadcast at all. That's all.
I just think, if it increases the value of the broadcast, I think that's positive, as long as you can do it without being overly detrimental to players and teams. But I think a lot of it is also judgment call, because you're gonna get stuff which is on the line. And you're going to get, like...
But yeah, sorry, just to answer the actual question, no, I don't want to release all voice comms. That's just a no.
Formula 1 do this. It's really interesting. If you pay for F1 TV, you get access to not just all of the radio broadcast, you get access between the driver and the engineers. You get access to it uncensored, because the broadcast one, they censor fucking shit and everything. But, like in F1 TV, you can get the uncensored ones with, like, and also for the broadcast they cut them down, so like you get a 10-second clip which was actually spread out over a minute and a half, because there's delays when they're speaking, maybe corners and stuff. On F1 TV you get that fully free. So like, and there hasn't been anything huge yet. Like, you get stuff out of context where, like, somebody says something to their engineer and it gets interpreted one way, like, oh, this is tension in the team. But you know. And I also don't think they're sitting there like holding their breath because they're like, I can't say this on broadcast. This could be broadcast. I don't think so. They're whenever
It does help that they literally, for the most part, are screaming around corners in a screaming car whilst trying to handle the damn thing. There's not as much space for conversation when you're driving a car. I don't think it's comparable. Like, I don't think it's comparable.
They do.
In terms of the number of people talking, the people who have to talk all the time. Like, we're talking about way more comms in a game of CS than a driver and an engineer. Yeah. I'm not saying they don't chat. I'm just saying we're releasing way more information. Like,
so I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be released, but in the spirit of the question, I think we should use it more. I think to increase the value of the broadcast. That's going to be better for everybody. It's going to be more interesting, as long as you can do it in a responsible manner. Because I do.
So far, so bad.
Yeah. But I do kind of like that Blast have like taken more control of this, because this is the whole, this is the whole thing. Didn't we have in the pandemic at some point? There was a game which was postponed by about like 4 hours because either m0NESY or Vitality refused to play when the TeamSpeak was recorded or something like that. Do you remember this?
No, but I mean, I believe you. I'm not saying you're making it up, but I don't remember anything.
I remember this. Players were obviously really upset, and it's always about the strat book. It's always about this and that.
Buddy, there's two bomb sites and a mid control. Like, how much can you spoil? Like,
yeah, there's ways to go about it. There's ways to go around it.
I don't think the strategy is the problem. That's not the problem. There's
ways to do it responsibly, and I think it should be in context as much as possible. But that's obviously hard because we're just seeing a clip.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get on to the actual Counter-Strike, because we spent 20 minutes on this.
Oh, yeah. Good question.
Yeah, an interesting one. So, Bucharest. It literally started yesterday.
Yep.
And has been pure chaos. Like, absolute chaos. We did a double swing preview, and pretty much everything has gone wrong. I think of the teams that won on day one that were actually picked, it might have literally just been, I picked complexity. They upset Falcons, one of my other picks. Like, it was that absurd of a first day. Maybe Eternal Fire got picked, and did they win their game? Yeah, they did. Who are now Aurora, which has been a bit of a confusing point.
We'll get to that.
And I guess like things didn't expect to happen. Like, last pick of my draft got Furia. They won their game. Like, we're talking, like, there's not been much in terms of predictable results. So just to lead off the event, just the way it opens up, Virtus Pro get 2-0'd in disgustingly one-sided fashion by Rare Atom. Look, we joked about it on the show. We're like, oh, you're going to take Rare Atom? Haha, Rare Atom, haha. No one really thought they'd be competitive. Now, the fact that they just come and blow VP out the water is alarming. I think for VP more than anyone else, obviously. But I don't know if, like, this upset, I think, is the one that starts it all. And if you look across all the other upsets that happen, is it just a case of the teams that are getting upset came in unprepared and unexpected of an opposition who are this ready for it? Or was it actually these... I don't think these underdog teams are necessarily actually going to be able to maintain their level and carry it through and make deep runs or anything, because Rare Atom immediately then get 2-0 by G2. You know, they didn't even get double-digit rounds on any map. So we might be looking at a quite simple case of just day one overperformance. You know, no one's ready for you. You're able to hit them.
It's also a time
rough start
in a bit of turmoil. Yeah, we have the major coming up. The invites go out today. Some teams are more or less supposed to be dead, according to rumors. Not fully, but like there's roster changes happening which haven't happened. Some of them are very fresh roster changes, like Liquid. Pain are playing with the stand-in. They weren't one of the upset teams, but like there's a lot of this, and also it's like interesting. We haven't gotten Rare Atom at a huge amount of LAN events recently. We've had them at a couple, but it's like they aren't the ones who have showed up for like the Asian qualification spot in the past 12 months or whatever. So yeah, this is their first big event in the past 12 months. And also the same thing with Legacy. We didn't see them a lot. And they also had an upset win, of course, against a team with a new IGL. But that's like another thing. So I think it might just be that this is fresh blood. Like, we don't expect these teams to win. At least in the case of Rare, Atom, and Legacy, we don't expect these teams to win because we never see them. And then, your opponent has a bad day, and for one reason or another, and they capitalize. They surprise. So that could be part of it. Then you also have stuff like Complexity beating Falcons. Falcons are a mess, it seems. Even more so after that Gamer Legion loss as well.
Oh yeah, that Game Legion game was just an embarrassment. We'll get to. I think we'll have to just have a conversation about Falcons itself, like themselves. Like that's.
We will. Yeah, I put the. And then the Astralis FaZe upset is maybe. I think maybe Astralis FaZe and m0NESY 3D Max are the two upsets which are, in a way, the most interesting because those are actually more likely to be sustainable across the event.
Yeah, those are the ones we actually have. We have tape on both teams. We've seen them play a bunch. We come into this event and it's just it's a surprise, but it's not an absolute shock because, we've actually seen Astralis play. We know who Astralis players are. Like, we're not shocked that Stare is solid at LAN, no matter where, from Denmark to Japan. Like, he's fine. Like, he's going to be an absolute rock. The question for them is always like, we know they have talent. Can the talent be utilized properly? Can it just put out that sort of star level output? Here we go. Huge series from Stown. Device also had a couple good maps when he needed to. And they can beat a team like FaZe, who are probably, for most people's money, the better team, but a team who have certainly shown a lot of weakness and shown that they should be correctly under scrutiny. Like, there's a lot of people who are talking about roster moves, like, who do we change? How do we change it? Oh, why has the Elige move completely bombed? There's a lot of questions that need answering, and, well, Astralis really put the point at the bottom of that question mark. Just bang. Now what?
Yeah.
2-1 loss to us.
3D Max is kind of the same thing. It's like, I think what they said was, m0NESY said something about 3D Max being a comfortable matchup for them. And it's a really close game, but they come out winning. It's two similar teams in a bunch of ways, who I actually don't think are that. I think they are quite closely matched, even going in. I would have picked m0NESY to win, but I'm not. It's one I could see
every time they've played recently, well, as far as I can remember, it's been 2-0 m0NESY and not that close.
Yeah, the past 3 games, yeah. But it's not unrealistic.
No, because 3D Max are a team who have wild variations in their play in terms of the actual output you get. Not because they play a particularly poor style, it's just they play a very committal style. And I think one that they have to play at, given they don't have very many like tier 1 star kind of players. They don't have a Senzu, hell, even they don't have a Blitz on the AWP. They don't have a 910. If Maka's not actually he's not that great at the top level games. He's solid, and he's a better caller than he is an AWPer. They just don't have that kind of talent. So they do go for a lot of. I mean, I think it was Inferno in that series that they played. They just kept playing 4-man top mid sort of setups on CT side. And it was smart because they were using it as an early stack, and then when the mid smoke fades and no one's come, or even if they resmoked and no one's come, they would try and go for like a re-clear of mid, try and get the info before throwing 2 players back to B. And so time and time again, they're in the right place because they fully committed to this idea that we're going to stack the A-bomb site, play for info when we don't get hit, and then rotate. It was just very clinical, very clean, but also highly committal, just leaving one guy alone towards that B bomb site time and time again, assuming the m0NGOLs wouldn't just hard bum rush it. And they were right. So they do have that sort of aspect to them that's a bit gambly, but everyone's on the same page because they've got a strong leader who knows how to bring everyone into the strategy. I mean, add to that the fact that they have players with wild, like, kind of skill variance. Like a guy like Exercise can just one bullet the enemy team, just one by one, if he's given the opportunity. Gravity, in terms of his aim adjustments, super strong. Like he can really hit difficult shots. It's just that he's constantly taking incredibly difficult fights. So there are things that can really just click and pop off for them, and I think that's what happened here. I mean, does Gravity and Exercise end up being the top 2 players? There you go. Just whip out the scoreboard, just take a look. Exercise, Gravity topping it. So they are a really strange team in that sense, and that's how this sort of upset can happen. It's just, given the last matchups, How are we predicting this?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where to go from here. We have some games have already been played. We had a Gamer Legion Falcons, which again, it's like Gamer Legion definitely could have won this game for sure. I wouldn't have expected it in this fashion, but they did it. And G2 had a pretty comfortable game against Rare Rat. Ongoing, Liquid and VP are in overtime, which is going to be for an 0-2 spot. That's what's on the line. The losing team is going to be 0-2, which is interesting. And then Aurora and Legacy are going. Legacy played it fairly close, but I think Aurora take a 2-0 there. 3D Max Astralis is, like, if I say almost 50-50, I'd favor 3D Max based on past results, but I think Astralis probably had the slightly more difficult upset in the first game, maybe, and it was slightly more convincing.
I wouldn't say they're the more difficult upset. I don't think FaZe are anywhere near the team Mongols have been this year.
Yeah, it depends. It depends. Yeah, but no, that's probably true. That's probably true. In any case, they had a bit more of a conclusive upset, and I would say from a lot further back than 3D Max had. Like, distance-wise, it's a bigger upset. Mongols have Apogee. That's going to be a Mongols win. Furia Complexity, battle of the mid, but one of them has had good form, one of them has had bad form, and then FaZe Pain, and that's a bit of a classic matchup. It's starting to become, I think, and I'd probably take Pain. It's hard to predict what's going to happen here because it's also a Swiss group. We get Elo based. I don't think it's Bukot. It might be Bukot now that I think about it. But I don't know who I would even put in playoffs at this point. Like, do I put Pain there?
G2's in playoffs. There, maybe that's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Based on current form, Aurora's going through. Aurora's going through.
Aurora's going through.
If I had to put money on it, I would then say that the Mongols are going to be fine. 3D Max are going to be able to get through, and Gamer Legion will be joining them.
Yeah.
Probably Virtus Pro. But the problem is, if I'm saying I still think Virtus Pro are going to make it through. But that means that someone out of like Liquid, FaZe, Falcons, teams who have a lot of tier 1 players, tier 1 stars, I think a couple of them are going to miss playoffs entirely because just of the way the Swiss is going to work out. So it's going to be a brutally cutthroat result. Like, teams who have come here expecting to get some prize money and get some points on the board. A lot of them are going to take a negative out of this. They're going to take a huge loss in ranking points, unexpectedly, but hey, deservedly given how some of them have played.
Yeah. Do you think VP make it through if they lose to Liquid? Because this game is mega close right now.
Probably not, but I think they win it because this is Liquid's pick. Liquid didn't look very convincing yesterday. I think VP walk through them on Dust 2. So.
Yeah, okay, fair. We have... That's actually, yeah. So the top teams who went here, like Mongols FaZe, Falcons for sure, Virtus Pro, probably Liquid. They were definitely expecting to get, even just making playoffs, that's $60,000, and you're probably breaking even at that. Going out is like half of that. You get $30,000 or less. So it's going to be a pretty big loss for them. Honestly, right now, I might take Complexity to go through, actually. They're on a pretty good streak, and I think with having Furia, I'd take Complexity to win that, I think. And then third game, I mean, they have 3 chances, and they've had pretty good form, even against solid teams. So, yeah, I'd probably take that. Legacy, I think, absolutely could go through. But that's more so because we haven't seen them much. I think they have good form in local play. And then they made this event, and they made some roster changes. They made some roster changes, and now, I'd take them. I'd take them to go through. I'd probably take Legacy to go through. I wouldn't have said it before the event.
The problem is Legacy. Good. I've had the same problem with Legacy. Basically, the Legacy core, the Legacy stars, for going on 4 years. It's like, oh man, they're really sharp. They're really talented, and they can get an occasional win here and there. But for the most part, it's like the excitement slowly dies, and then you get a little deeper in the strat book, and you're like, You get a little deeper into the game gets closer, the opponent gets stronger, the guys fade, and you're just like, we're left in the same position we always are. They go back to Brazil, and we don't see them at events for another 6 to 8 months because they just can't consistently make it out of their region. So we have a real problem with this legacy group. It doesn't help that they're constantly, like the legacy stars, Dumao, Lato primarily, just never hitched to the right horse, you know? It's a great wagon, but it's just never going far enough. It should be capable of going real deep, but that's the world we live in with Brazilian CS, which can never get the right combination of players to put together.
I think Lux could be the difference maker. But yeah, anyway, let's move on.
I mean, we'll see. There's been already an op-ed about how he's like the next guy, but
yeah,
I'm yet to see it. We have a weird topic here. It's not CS related directly. It's broadcast related. And we're talking about it because for the first time in forever, we're seeing Reddit posts about the casting. Now, this used to be a massive thing back in the day. Back when there was, we talked about this a lot with Semler in my interview about how back in the day you'd see a lot more like Reddit threads about casters. Like back when a lot of people I think weren't too used to watching esports broadcasts as well. Like when that was starting to blow up. Was around that time, 2014 to 16, like maybe 17. But also there was a lot of variety in terms of who was casting what events. Like, as he explained it, there was a lot of like, this is our guy from TOs. Like, we have this duo is our main duo. Sure, there's always some people in the periphery who fill out the broadcasts. But our final's going to be this guy. They're also going to get a semi-final, 2 quarters. Like, their voice is going to be synonymous with our product. And so there was variety across different TOs, and there was a lot of talk about it on Reddit threads. Like, in terms of, oh, look at this clip from Semler, oh no, Bardolph hit this, like, you know, sort of reaction or whatever it was. That doesn't really happen anymore because every broadcast is the same 12 dudes and no one cares. It seems to be the vibe. Like I think I saw a TED tweet about a desk the other day, but like really you don't see that much talk about it on social media. And then PGL hired zews.
Yep.
To be a caster.
They already scored a big win by bringing back Anders. That's like I saw some excitement about that.
Yeah, that's great. It's not gonna.
It's lie. A random. It's an online B stream caster who I think like made the headline in the HLTV. This is who the talent are. That's pretty
Anders awesome. Everyone loves Anders. He's been casting CS for 13 years. I want to say, maybe just about that. Yeah, I think he started casting CS around Go. I don't remember the exact story. Or all the history, but I think that sounds about right to me. And he's just, to see him relegated from, to be honest, the big events to CCT was to me a bit weird. It's like, even if he's not got the, in the moment, like, cultural significance that he did around the time of Inhuman Reactions, let's put it that way. He's not the dominant voice of CS anymore. I found it hard to believe that we couldn't have him on most broadcasts. Like, if we're going to have all the same guys, how is he not one of them? But it's great they have him back. It's just duoed with zews.
Why is zews here? I can't even imagine why zews would be here when you have other casters just screaming for work.
Yeah, there's like so many casters who do actual casting day in, day out. And I know some of them, so it's going to sound personally biased, but hell, some of them I've never even spoken to or hadn't any shows who have never had this opportunity, who have worked with Anders.
Yeah.
And I'm not even talking about Neokai. There's a couple other names who have worked with Anders on smaller broadcasts as well.
Oh, hell yeah. And then you also have, like, Bardolph and DDK came out, like, earlier just recently. And they just said, like, yeah, we've been trying to make a comeback for, like, almost a year, but nobody wants to hire us. And that's, like, I'm not saying they're the best. Maybe not anymore. Like, they've been out of it for a while. But, like, over zews... Definitely.
Yeah, over a guy who's not a caster. Yes, easily. And that's the problem I have. It's like, if you want to hire zews for something, put him on a desk. That's not absurd. That's just, we've had coaches randomly thrown on desks before. We've had players, lots of players randomly thrown on desks before. And whilst they struggle at being, you know, a talking head in the sense of being a personality on TV, they do great when it comes to analysis, insight, weird takes you'd never think because you don't have that sort of weird player ego going on in your head.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of things that players and coaches bring to broadcasters, interesting and unique. Making them casters is just how to put it right.
And it's stupid.
It's a misappropriation of talent. Let's put it that way. Like it's been misplaced.
Yeah, because realistically, to be a decent caster, at least, you do not need to know that much about Counter-Strike. It's better if you do, but like you can get by if you're just a good talker. Being a good analyst, you need to know Counter-Strike. And coaches know Counter-Strike. zews definitely knows some Counter-Strike. You definitely bring some insight. I think it actually would be interesting. To me, he feels like one of the coaches who maybe has always had a little bit of an off stance on things, where like he's slightly contrarian in sort of the way that I think Kassad can be quite interesting, just because he's, even if he isn't, maybe he isn't off meta, but he's like slightly more outspoken about things, and he questions things a bit more. So that can actually be quite interesting. But casting is like, it's the opposite. You don't need to be good at CS to be a good caster. You need to be good at talking. And frankly, a lot of, especially non-native English speaking people are not good at talking. And that's an unfortunate truth. I mean, some are really good. That's not like a blanket thing, but it's more the exception. And zews is fine, but he was obviously quite uncomfortable with this. And I don't know why he's been fired. Maybe he said something really stupid. Maybe he said something really dumb.
A lot of his takes were pretty dumb, but they weren't like offensive. I mean, he swore once, but that's not the end of the world. The problem is, I see what you mean about being a good talker. The way this needs to be expressed, it's not that he can't say exactly what he's thinking in English, is that he can't deliver his lines. Like, if you listen to the broadcast, I think there was a perfect clip of this, and then perfect title with it on Reddit, that was just therapist streamer caster putting me to sleep, because the game ends. I think Furia, you're just won, and zews is kind of like, yep, this is really great, a big victory. There's zero energy coming through. There's nothing, like, the moment isn't there. It's like they've won their 2-0. Great, conclude the round, conclude the match. This is what's happened. This is why this is important. Yada yada. We are excited. And also, back to the desk, or throw back to my co-caster. Let's continue the conversation. Wow. Instead, it's like, of course, everyone's half asleep. Like, you just made the end of a map, the end of a match potentially, sound like, I don't know. Oh, I've got to feed my pet snake. Be right back. Like, what? It's so bland.
It's really bland. Actually, funnily enough, I just saw last night DDK, just as a happenstance, posted that he was available for work and he was looking for work as a caster.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. He got fired. He got fired after one day. They didn't even give him, the group stage is 5 days long. On a B stream. They're not even like the main duo on the B stream because they have Harry and Hugo. You could definitely just run it out. I wonder if maybe Anders just didn't want to work with him, and I don't know who he's going to do it instead. Maybe he's solo now. Maybe he was like, it's better I do this alone, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I've not heard any of the broadcast today because we've been doing this. So I've had the games on, or I just have the scoreboard so that I'm actually paying attention. So I don't actually hear the streams. So I've no idea what's going down. No clue what's going down right now. I mean, VP just won an OT, 2-0, I'm telling you.
Squanders are on the mainstream, and then quickly going to listen in and see who's on.
I mean, Scrawny Launders, just going to say this now. They are still my favorite casting duo, I think. Like,
there they go.
When I post conversation with m0NESY, I started listening to duos, and I was like, which one do I actually appreciate the most? And I was like, I realized it is them, because they, for me, fulfill the traditional sports duo sort of thing, where lots of talking, play-by-play, occasional insight, color. Like, and this doesn't feel like it's too much of just like two people just trying to endlessly be the voice. It feels like they actually have their roles filled in properly. Like, Scrawny is the main voice, and he does like, he fills a lot of the space and does a lot of stuff, but then as soon as we get some Launders insights, like, oh, you're right, Launders. Yeah. Just perfect, like a pimple pop. It's just satisfying.
They have a really interesting, they pass between each other really well. But then they also Scrawny used to get a lot of flack for being too hype. I remember people being upset, or a lot of flack, maybe that wasn't the main reason, but people used to be kind of upset that Scrawny would actually both be too into the game and not into the game enough. Because some would give him criticism for why are they talking about skins instead of talking about the game, and that was kind of stupid at the time. There's this hilarious moment where they completely missed the fact that NIP win a round on timer because the other team forgot to plant because they were talking about a skin which they saw in the round. But then they had yeah, but then also the other way around, where like, why are they screaming about a random this random round which had very little impact on things. So it goes both ways.
I mean, they've gotten really better over time. They're casting that we've had for a long time. Like, they've been around a while.
Yeah, and watching old Scrawny clips, he's even more into it now. Like, he's even more like, he's very hype about a lot of things, and like he's shouting, he's screaming, and everything. But
better than half asleep. Better than half asleep.
Yes, it's really good. It's really good. He leaned into it and it became better. I think. Like, it's yeah. But they also pass off between each other because that's something which I think Machine and Sponge, they talk over each other a bit. And
Machine and Sponge, I think they fulfill the same. I think they have a clearer role definition than, say, Harry and Hugo. But yeah, they do get a little bit of overlap. The Harry Hugo overlap in terms of stylistically who should be doing what. The pass off isn't as clear sometimes, and that's why I think their broadcast doesn't flow in the same way I'd like it to. I mean, they have great banter. Like, let's be real. Harry Hugo as like a watch along stream would be great. Like, them just bantering would be ideal. I just feel sometimes they step on each other's toes.
When they did the triple cast for ESL Pro League, I think a lot of people were actually upset about this. I actually thought it was really funny when Harry just kept bringing up Hawk 2 like all over the broadcast. And it was just really funny because it was like leaning into, this joke is bad and I'm gonna tell it and it's gonna be funny because it's bad. Like,
yeah, like some of the triple casts from EPL were just horrific though. Like, that's a separate conversation.
Oh yeah,
We're going down the rabbit hole here for casting conversations, but no, the triple casts at EPL, not only did they have deeply unserious conversations that made it honestly just annoying to watch, they also had people smashed together into trios that made no sense. Like, that was also a TO problem. Like, you shouldn't have done half this stuff. Like, just keep Steel on the desk. Like, don't throw him in with people he has no chemistry with and expect him to just be lighthearted and humorous. Like, that's just going to be awkward.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the whole thing. Anyway, he's fired. Zeus, screw that. No, I wouldn't say screw that guy. I think he was pretty gracious about it. He could have been really upset about being fired. He was actually really nice because he was like, yes, I hope they have a great event, but I'm actually off the broadcast now. Sorry. Like, so yeah, good job, nice debut. I maybe we see him back in an analyst role, and he actually does a good job because he's a fun character to have around.
I mean, yeah, something like the one of the few clips I saw of him was him like having a mini rant about like major winners, like not getting the respect they deserve, or because like, oh, it's a fluke. Have you ever done it once? Like, it was a weird take that is way off base, and I think would get a lot of pushback, but it's interesting, and he's got a unique POV. Like, I think that was cool. So I'd be happy to see him in other roles, or hell, if someone, I mean, let's be real, if someone's going to make a good podcast and Zeus agrees to be on it, all right, Last Free Nation, what's it going to be called? Like, let's be real, it's not going to go anywhere else.
Yeah,
it's not going to be a HLTV podcast.
Oh,
new Counterpoints co-host. Let's be real, it's not going to be anyone else who makes something out of that.
Yeah.
But all right, we got one more point that we kind of said we touch on from this event, and I think that'll be wrapping up our coverage.
Yeah, this is brief.
Falcons don't even get the dead team buff. Shaking my head. Thank you for that. SMH definitely need to be there.
That's what I've been writing down in the notes. Yeah, we have.
Yeah, they are. Well, they are so bad right now. And sure, their second series. The first series, alarming. You lose 2-0 to Complexity, but you can at least go, oh, well, you didn't really know what to expect. Like, you've played them once, but you played them in like January. It's kind of hard to know what you're coming into against Complexity. They also haven't played very many games recently. Like, they played a bunch of BO1s in Europe after a big gap from like not playing anything in NA. There's actually a really long time gap. So maybe prep was difficult.
And Hold Circle is huge on your map pick.
Yeah, and Hold Circle like completely wrecks you on Dust 2.
Yeah.
What were you expecting to happen? But to be honest, the Gamer Legion series is the really scary one, because Ash and Gamer Legion came into that series when, okay, we know what we're picking, and when you pick your map, we're going to take T side just to rub it in. Yeah. They beat them 26-3 with only 5 CT rounds. They did everything from the T side. Utterly
really funny.
Disrespectful. Like, just rubbing it in. They walked all over them. And I mean, on Mirage, I was watching it this morning. PR is just like disrespecting them egregiously. He's just walking out of Palace over and over again, getting a clean opening or a 1-for-1 trade. Just over and over and over. Like, how many majors? How many HLTV, whatever the fucks? Just shut up, head gone. Just over and over and over again. It was gross. It was so gross. And at one point, they did this super fast. Like, they knew. They had such a good read on how Falcons were going to play. They went out into mid after throwing the smokes. Almost dry. Like, very little in terms of flash usage. 2 players straight down to bottom mid. Almost just uncaring about short. Nothing to be worried about. What they can do, counter-aggress, creative something, team play coordinate. None of that expected from Falcons. So they just walked straight down to the bottom of mid, boosted Rez straight into window, and he just walks through the window smoke because he just hard read. They're going to be heavy con. Just walks out, kills 2 people con, ends up with a quad kill of just beautiful fucking one taps. Rez looking so crispy right now, and I'm just like, this is a team that is better than you. Knows they are and wants to rub it the fuck in. Like, how much money? How much money did you spend on these guys? I got this kid, this guy from NIP that everyone gave up on, and I'm just gonna throw him in through your default because your default is wank. That was masterful. I loved it. It was utterly disrespectful, but in every way it had to be because Falcons deserve 0 respect on current form.
It feels like a really ZTR kind of thing to do as well. That's a really, like, his attitude. Like, it's, oh my god, their socials account. Like, just the caption from the win is just, don't do it, m0NESY. It ain't worth it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people talking about that. We'll get into that move later. Obviously, it's the big headline.
Oh my god.
But man,
right.
It's such a poor look from them. If you look at across, like, we said this on the double swing. When I picked them, because I picked them thinking, firstly, I didn't know this was happening. This hadn't been announced yet, had it? When did it get announced?
What, the m0NESY thing?
Yeah, was it Saturday?
2 days ago, I think, maybe.
That's Saturday.
I think it was Friday.
If it happened Friday, I hope it was post-recording and I didn't just miss it.
Friday, very late. It was at 11.
Okay, so it was post-recording and even post-release. So I wasn't...
Yeah, because I was working and I was like, this is a judgment call. Should I post it now or in the morning? And
yeah, because I wasn't aware this team was now just dead. Like, when I picked them, you know, for me, it's still the same Falcons. The Falcons who played a lot of teams close. If Nico has a pretty strong game, they're able to actually just win against stronger opposition. I thought, make a playoff appearance, surely. This move killed them, and they are so bad. Like, m0NESY is hitting all-time lows in terms of his form. He's not been strong since being on Falcons, really, for a while. Like, he had some points where you're like, oh, he's the one good rifler, when the team was complete trash. But now you're just like, there's no excuse in terms of, oh, the team's too weak. He's just bad. He's just bad. And it's getting dire. So we'll talk about their prospects once m0NESY comes in, but for now, if they don't go 0-3, I'll be shocked. They're looking 0-3 right now. Like, even if they play bloody... who's even going to be 0-2? Like, Apogee? If they play Apogee in the 0-2 game, I still think they're going 0-3. That's how bad they've looked. Jacob, smash them. I think they're... Just smash them.
Yeah. When I read that thing, I was like, oh, so now Falcons are going to... Like, Dexter's going to absolutely bang, and then he's going to... And it's going to be the dead team buff. Like, he's going to come in, they have nothing to play for anymore, and he's just going to go nuclear. And they're going to make playoffs, and then, I don't know, burn out in the semifinal or something. But, no, it's not even that. It's just, he's gone. And he says he has things he will talk about later, he says on Telegram.
Dexter. Oh, please tell us everything. Tell us every little detail.
Yeah. The only thing he said was he was disappointed at the moment.
I mean, it's one of those things where, like, you're cut for m0NESY, you can't be disappointed. The team is utterly crap, dysfunctional and disorganized. Then you can be disappointed, and you have a lot to tell us. Like, you have a lot to spill.
Public, like, here's a call I'm gonna make. Any last Free Nation show post Bucharest, put Dexter and Zeus on. Do it. Do it.
No, I mean, it doesn't have to be a Lost Nation show. Just any show that's going to be able to get them on.
We'll
That's
do it.
also going to keep it raw. Like, 'cause they might go on like HLTV Confirmed, and like that doesn't hit the same. You don't get the same value out of it.
Fucking counter, maybe.
Maybe, but they don't really have guests, do they?
No.
So
Occasionally.
that's what I'm thinking. Like, maybe a very quick, like maybe not a full reflections of either one of them, but a quick talk to Thorin. You know what I mean? If you ever seen any episodes of that, which are more in the moment,
Yeah.
I'm here for
They
it.
could come on if they're available Monday mornings next week. We could have them
Oh
on.
yeah. I mean, I know. I mean, Russia's ahead of us. Dexter, come on, Retake the Week. We'll let you say whatever the hell you want in whatever language you want. A few racial epithets aside, like you can say whatever the hell you want about the players you played with and coaches on our show.
Perfect. Yeah.
We're down. We're so down. Like, we want to know exactly what's happened in that team because it's been horrific, to say the least. And yeah, PR, you are my god. Keep doing what you're doing. Probably the best Inferno demo to watch right now. I think it's Inferno PR T-side. Not in terms of team play or anything else. Just he gets to kind of do whatever the hell he wants in Game of Legion.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like, and he just bangs people's heads off. So that's my takeaway from that game. Realistically, I'm just here for Game of Legion. They were so dope.
Yeah.
All right, on to the small site retakes. We've got a couple to bring up. Actually, no. You know what? I'm gonna do a live rescheduling. Small site retake can wait. We've got a Q&A question.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Let's do the Q&A question. So, should FaZe bench Rain or broky before the Austin Major? And if so, who would you replace them with? Problem.
Who would you replace them with?
Yes, that's my issue. It's because I have to pick someone to replace them with, and that person has to be made available to me. As in, I can actually afford them, and they are able and willing to come, you know? And here comes the suggestion that I knew was going to come in, and we're going to talk about Grix later in the show as well. But yes, Grix is an obvious example of just a... It feels like he can't miss. Like, if you want to promote an AWPer. But let's just focus on the FaZe problems for now. FaZe have played one series at this event, lost it to Astralis. Not the most unreasonable upset, but still a very disappointing one to lose, especially like Ancient. You couldn't get more than 4 rounds. I know Astralis have historically liked it, but that's across like different rosters, different variations. This team aren't necessarily the best Ancient side in the world. I feel like that's a big L, and to only win a map in OT is rough.
Yeah.
I was watching Elige demos. Post, the episode where we talked about, not my Elige, basically. Like, what the hell is this Elige? I started spamming demos between his complexity days and his FaZe days. And I'm going to be honest, I do genuinely think FaZe are just calling a weaker game. Like, the calling is just off. Desperate. Just not as strong. And it doesn't help that Elige has the same tendencies this side of the New Year line that he did prior to it. Like, in terms of how he plays outer, certain things were just predictable. Like, in terms of setups and tricks he'd go for. But there are also things that are missing that he used to really depend upon. Like, Complexity would drop him an extra nade so he could double pop the outer smoke wall, but do it from really deep. Like, he would play basically next to Hell and pop the smoke wall twice, then go for those long range fights. He'd do these little things that he doesn't do on FaZe. And then on T side, oh god, the round construction just isn't there. And they're trying things like, I was spamming nuke demos, so it's going to be a lot of nuke references. Like upper hits that were just so flaccid, like weak upper hits.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is the same guy that in a major final, got the twists like main wrap through. Like, this is the same IGL. Like, it feels like Karrigan's off his game. As far as the problems in FaZe, that's a big one. And we saw the choked round on Dust too. We all saw that one, the clip on Reddit, where he's just flubbed his lines entirely. Like, he has the defuse for free, gets into his own head, panics, comes off it. It feels like pre-major win Karrigan's back. I'm talking TQM Karrigan, like way back when. So more than just individuals not being on form, I think they have an IGL who's not on top form right now. Like, in terms of his confidence in himself, his read on the game, I don't think Karrigan's all there. I don't think he's feeling it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that you do have broky mid, Rain at best mid, Frozen mostly okay on the CT side, but overall nowhere near the star he seemed he could be towards the start of the year. Elige, missing almost entirely for the most part. Like,
he's very up and down, map to map.
we have players who are just not on it. So I don't think it's simple as cutting both those guys, bringing in replacements, especially when I have to have the conversation of who I can bring in.
Yeah, there's a component to that, which is Rain. There's maybe some players you could get for him. You could slot a lot of younger riflers into
You can
such a
take
role.
you can take a risk on a younger rifler and be like, okay, Elige maybe. Shut the hell up. Elige go
What?
perfecto in rain rolls.
What do they have
Listen to
lose?
yourself.
Except
Listen
for
to
money.
yourself. I'll write you an article.
Except-
I'll write you an article, and you can then understand why that's a terrible idea. Because my God, no.
All right. But the caveat, broky, whoever you want to get to replace broky with, G2 are also going to want to replace m0NESY with.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
That's the long and the short. If you look through the list of AWPing prospects right now, not only is there not that great a number, all of them come with visa issues. I think the ones that are actually elite, like in terms of as a prospect, all of them come with a language barrier, because I don't think all of them have great English just off the bat, like just like that. It doesn't come preloaded into players. So I think you've got a lot of really awkward things to deal with if you're trying to make that move. I don't know about you, but English-speaking AWPers that are available, name me one. Or at least, or even unavailable, but technically, like they're on a smaller org. It wouldn't be that crazy if you got them. Like, basically opening the crucial door here. But
no, I wouldn't say crucial. He's good for him, but he wouldn't do a better job than broky. No, like if you Russians, maybe, I don't know. I think I remember Art Frost saying something here or there, which would indicate that he's acceptable speaking that language. Other than that, I have no idea. Like, I'm gonna scroll through the ranking and just have a quick think. Cirque hasn't exactly been hot. I guess Afro is around. That's not an upgrade.
Cirque has been dreadful, so no.
Yeah,
that's a big no.
Yeah,
I mean, look, if terms
that's
of
a big no.
AWPers this year who've been productive, I guess like fauZe on Dynamo Eclot has had a good year, but we've seen him try to play at a higher level and struggle before. You're taking a risk by having him. Like, in terms of, is he an upgrade over broky? We have zero guarantee. So not even like I can look at the eye test and be like, oh, mechanically he's worth the risk. The upside's there. Like, I mean, fauZe's solid, but he's not that crazy, like, cracked. So I don't think that's a great option.
I mean, like, not a great. There are no great options. There's a couple I could see them making if there's more behind the scenes than we know of, which I don't think there is. I think Carrion's very happy playing with broky even when he's off form. Like,
Khan is terrible.
If it ends up being like, we could get somebody less skilled than broky and it would still be an upgrade for the team. Like, there's very few outside shots which I think could be reasonable. He would be one of them. Yeah,
because remember, if you're losing broky, he is a vocal player. He is a pretty like strong vibes guy in terms of my read on the team. If you can't bring the firepower and you're a new guy in the situation who's maybe younger, like, how are you going to be the vibes guy? You know what I'm saying?
I think I think the only couple of moves you could make, you could take a big chance on somebody like Peepo. You could do that. That's a huge chance.
That's a huge risk.
It's a huge risk, but you could. You could go for somebody who has been up here and then kind of fallen out. Like, a Hades move is maybe not impossible. I'd even stretch to m0NESY.
No.
Like, it wouldn't be an upgrade on broky, but maybe if it's like we just need somebody to put up a 104 and then we're good.
Yeah, vetoed. Sorry, m0NESY, but no. I veto that idea. But Hades, I don't mind.
No.
Try as we're re-entering the talent conversation. Like, Try is a very talented player.
Yeah.
Probably speaks good enough English. If I had to guess.
I think so.
Doesn't have the Russian visa issue, or apparently Belarusian players have the same problem, pretty much in terms of acquiring visas. So
yeah, more or less.
So I do think Grix in that sense, because Grix obviously is the most obvious answer. Grix, Molodoi are the two most talented prospects we have, at least for my metrics, mechanically talented. Grix I think has fewer flaws in his game. Prospects coming soon. But you're still taking a huge gamble. And as much as I do love Grix's mechanics and his potential, we're destabilizing the roster for a prayer. In terms of the Rain conversation, I think that's where you have more options. Just in terms of riflers you can bring in.
Yeah,
just bring in someone who's cracked. Like, just bring in someone who's cracked.
You could take somebody who's not even never played those positions, and you could put probably valuable. Is there somebody like, look, okay, just as a thought,
right?
Is broky such a big problem that removing him improves the team, even if the replacement is more or less irrelevant? As a question one, yes or no?
No.
Right. Let's say the answer was yes. Let's say the answer was yes, because then I can continue. FaZe are going to get a stage 2 invite. Are they going to make it into the top 16 of the major?
Currently, there's very little saying they will.
So they're going to end top 24. They're not even going to make top 16. They're not even going to make
on current form at this current rate. What idiot idea is this going to be? It's fuck off.
Guardian. Run it back. Just do it for the PR. Just do it. Go 0-3 with Guardian, but you have him there. You can do a bunch of PR. Just write the major off, and just then go into the fucking spring season or in the summer shuffle and do whatever you want, because then you have opportunities. No, okay, no, yeah, that's just stupid because broky's gonna be better. They have a shot. They have a shot at making top 16. I don't think.
Yeah, they have a shot. Just on current form, you wouldn't bet on it.
Yeah.
Right. That's the problem. Yeah, I don't like this position FaZe are in, because like you essentially have to either wait for it to magically get better or blow it up and accept a lot of trials and tribulations. Because if they wanted to replace Carrigan, let's just say if you want to rebuild, you'd have to replace Carrigan. They've missed their opportunity to do so, at least for now.
Yeah, they've missed pretty huge opportunities. Yeah, they've missed. Yeah, I mean they missed Chewy, which is the big opportunity. Honestly, it's possible in the summer, but not before Austin. He's on a loan.
Yeah, pre-Austin, it's going to be rough. I mean, look, you can always take a risk on. There's a lot of young IGLs they can try. Essentially, there's a lot of young IGLs on smaller teams. There's Linus, there's Sin, there's ZTR, like guys on smaller teams than yourselves. You can try and. I mean, if anyone who gets the ZTR Ash combo, like, do it. If you can do it, do it. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, if you're making the broky move, the Maka move, maybe. But that's scraping the bottom of the barrel. That's like you've gone through the whole shuffle season and you end up in the same situation Falcons were in when they were trying to get Jambo and you jerks. That's when you end up at that move.
Yeah, no one's doing that. But look, hey, maybe you like what Snappy's doing on NIP, and you can have a thought about that.
Yeah,
like you can see what's available.
Sin wouldn't be the worst thing, but again, it's ahead of Austin, and all of these teams are also in Austin. Like, why?
They're not going to say yes to a move right now.
If you're Game Legion or M80 and you have decent form, you're already in stage 2 of the major. Game Legion in the MRQ, but you're already basically in the major. You have pretty good form. You definitely have a chance of making top 16. Maybe even stuff happens at a major, you could even upset and get an even better result. Would you move to FaZe? I don't think you would. You have to go further down, and there's nobody there. So yeah, that's it. Before Austin, no. Summer, yes, definitely.
Yeah, they should be very active in summer. If this doesn't get better, if we don't see a return to form of everyone, basically, because everyone's off their game in some way or another, you have to start making a lot of moves. But we'll see. We'll see about that. For now, it's all about the replacement, and there's no clear path. Okay, small site retakes. We're going to start with Jkaem the Wicked. The first thing they teach you about gambling is that you should only gamble what you have and what you're able to lose. Now, Jkaem, very smartly, decided, if it's not mine, I don't give a fuck if I lose it. And over the course of many years, has essentially robbed people of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of skins, just to piss it away on gambling. Which is fantastically degenerate behavior. And honestly an impressive effort. Like that takes a lot of work. So this all came to light recently when someone posted on Twitter about it, about him having taken like 40k worth of skins from him.
Earl's son, and it was 10k gone up to 11k over the years. It was Paris Major, so 2 years ago.
11k, okay.
But apparently, he paid back 1k.
Apparently, it's also not the first time this has happened. There's been a bunch of stories that have come out since then. And yeah, Jkaem essentially a problem gambler who's been stealing people's skins. Quacke, do you have the full story?
Yeah, he's been gambling. Like, supposedly this Earl's son isn't the only guy. It's obviously common that people lend skins for majors and such from collectors. It's cool to play for the player. It's cool to play with, you know, a Gungnir or Dragon or whatever you want to play with. And for collectors, it's cool that their skins have played a major. I don't know if it increases their value much. Probably depends, but it's definitely cool. Like, yeah, this has been on the official. This has been in a major final broadcast. That's a cool thing. What he did is he gambled the skins and lost, presumably. Over the course of 2 years, he's several times supposedly promised this guy to pay him back with interest. He never did. He paid back 1k, and then he's just, you know, never delivered on that. And I can't remember what the trigger was. I like in the original thread, it was something or other. Like the trigger for him going public on this was that like he was ghosted, and then eventually Jkaem said something, and it was like. Other people have also since said, like, since this has been somebody named Vancho666, a skin collector, has said apparently the grand total with other people who haven't gone public, it's over $300,000 apparently.
Jeez.
And this apparently stretches 12 years. At least, yeah. What he said was like. What he said is, I have a crippling gambling addiction. I've had it since I turned 18, and then he was like, I have to admit this, and I have to work on this. And it's that whole, I don't want to say shebang because I think it's genuine, but it's like, it's a little bit, maybe a little bit empty, because just repay everybody. Just do it. Like, the thing is, if it's about $11,000, I'm not trying to say that's a small amount of money, but this guy has played so many majors, and it's over a 2-year period. I think if you and I wanted to, just over the course of 2 years, I think you and I could put up $11,000 in a savings account, like over the course of 2 years, and we are not being paid.
Two of us combined.
I mean, yeah. Or one of us. Like if we put our mind to it.
Piece of piss.
No, I mean, like if we were like, okay, you have 2 years, you have to at the deadline of 2 years, you have to have $11,000 in a bank account. We could do it. I mean, you'd be frugal, but you could do it. And here's the thing: we're not paid a BC game salary. Like, we're not paid the amount of money that Jkaem is being paid and has been paid at. Like, I mean, Bleedy wasn't getting paid. I guess that's, you know, that's one thing. But I do think it is a little bit like, you could have played this so much smarter. But yeah, like he's got a problem, and that's a component of it, which you have to respect to a degree. But it's also like, you can't just post on Twitter that you're gonna fix your gambling addiction. That's everything, and that's a lot of the things I saw talked about as well. Like Stiko and Kassad talked about this mainly, and Zippel as well. Because Zippel was pretty involved in this. I guess he's involved with everything involving skins. He's everywhere. He talks to everybody. But they were basically like, you know, you have to actually, like, you have to do something now. Like, you've made the tweet, you know, now we understand what's happened. Now you have to do something. Like, you have to stop this. Otherwise, it's like, yeah. And that was actually like, it didn't just disappear in the ether. Like, people, it's not. It was actually interesting and kind of nuanced discussion around this, which I thought was fresh for something like this.
Yeah, so he's had a gambling addiction for 13 years. Since he turned 18, it's 13 years straight of gambling addiction.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, better than most gambling addicts. He lost 300k of someone else's money.
Yeah. Probably a whole bunch of his own as well. because this guy, again, he has played a lot of majors. That Paris major, he made like $1 million.
It's boy math. Look, if he lost more of anyone else's money than he lost of his own, technically he made money.
Yeah, that's boy math.
That works out. That works out just fine.
You can always win infinite percentage. You can only ever lose 100%. Like
exactly.
You obviously always win. And all of the jokes here and there. 90% of gamblers quit right before their big win. Yada yada yada.
Yeah,
I'll just rip these out of the way. Yeah. Side note: he plays for a team sponsored by a betting site, which is a little bit like.
Yeah, but is he a problem gambler or is he a problem better?
He said gambler. I think it could be. I'm not going to say 50-50. But maybe BC Game have like a gambling thing as well.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think I've looked into them at some point whilst I was having a conversation, a very specific conversation about a type of spot betting. I was looking into different sites they offered this kind of spot bet. There's essentially a specific round victory. Is when Yumi and I were actually just off air discussing ways a team could be using external assistance in a way that could be explanatory to what we were seeing in a demo. And then we found no one offering that deal, so we're like, okay, it probably isn't that. But
here's what I've just looked up. It is a crypto casino, so it is a gambling site properly.
Yeah, not just betting.
I mean, yeah, betting is also bad. Always wins there as well, but it's like you can at least be a little bit smart about it.
Betting is great. Gambling is awesome. Y'all need to stop getting addicted. Shut my.
It does feel a little bit like you're an alcoholic working at a brewery, like
in a way.
I've had
it's more like you're an alcoholic who plays for a football team that's owned by a brewery. But it's unlike in that context where you might leave the field and like complimentary beer. Do BC Game at the end of the games go, here's some extra deposit in your BC Game gambling accounts, guys. Please go gamble.
Yeah,
it's a bit different.
Yeah, but I did see Kassad be like, "Oh, the org really has to help him with this," and it's a little bit like, I mean, yeah, Jkaem has to do it himself, but also, are the org? Let's be fully honest here. To what degree is BC Game going to help Jkaem fix his gambling addiction?
His 13-year gambling addiction? I don't know. Maybe they are somehow. I mean, they're going to try to help in terms of potentially monetarily, like but. Again, like, why did they have to sort this out?
I did think that as well. Like, what responsibility do they have?
I mean, it's their public image, all that sort of things. So they definitely need to get involved, just in terms of PR.
Yeah, because the way I read Kassad's tweet, it was like, oh, poor Jkaem, why aren't the org fixing this? That's sort of how I read what he was saying.
That's definitely
felt
not
a bit
meant,
stupid.
But yeah,
it did feel like it. Like, it feels like, oh, the org has to do something. It's like, wow. Yeah, I mean, you would expect so, but it's like Jkaem has to do something.
Yeah, they need to help their player. That's true. They do have to help their player, but at the same time, my lord. You know, actually, no. No. Every org he's ever played for, give him money.
I mean, one of them.
If he puts it all on black, if he puts it all on black and it comes up, he can pay everyone back.
A friend in 8th grade when CSGO gambling was still heavily unregulated and 14-year-olds were gambling thousands. And he put $100 skin on green and won. So now he had $1,400. And then he put it on coin flip and lost. And we didn't. This was a 14-year-old. Jesus Christ. Okay.
He's 14 to 1 his money. And then put it on a coin flip.
Like $100 for a 14-year-old is
like
$1 million to you and me.
Let's just put it this way: poverty sometimes is deserved. This man deserves poverty.
Poor guy. All right. Yep.
Don't care. Just don't care. Right. The other thing, we got another small site. The major invite deadline day.
It's today. It's time we find out exactly who makes a major and who doesn't. And HLTV, the bastards, have spoiled it for us days ago. They have a prediction of how things are going to look today as decay happens, and that's obviously just how it looks today. Here's what's going to happen. Who is going to be at the major? I'm not going to rattle off all of them, but the interesting ones. We have the regular top 6. We have Vitality, Mouse, Spirit, Aurora, Na'Vi, and G2. That's what you'd expect, and that's what's going to happen.
Yep.
They are going straight to the top 16. Then we have Falcons, FaZe, 3D Max, and VP, who are going into stage 2 from Europe. And then the MRQ teams are interesting. It's most of the same tier 2 suspects in Europe that we expect, but I can tell you towards the lower end, which I think is interesting. m0NESY just about make it, which is refreshing considering for Shanghai they missed out by 1 point. Ens are in, 9Pandas are in, Vision are in. That's cool.
Nice. I can't wait to see them.
OG are in. They're actually surprisingly high up, to me at least. They're like in the middle. They're gonna get a pretty good seed. And BC Game, Heroic, 500 are in. So yeah, that's nice. Just missing out 9, Gun 5, Apogee, Sinners. I'm skipping over Iberian Soul. They're not interesting. Aurora, the old roster. Na'Vi Junior, we're actually in a position to play the MRQ, but obviously they can't. So that's why m0NESY get their spot. Yeah, there's a bunch more who miss out. Eclot, Ecstatic. Passion UA, notable for actually notably missing out. Yeah, that's Europe, and I'm just quickly going to go over Americas. We have Liquid straight to top 16. Pain, Fury, MIBR, and M80 are through. This was really close fought. M80, Complexity, Wildcard. Complexity and Wildcard are going to play in the MRQ. South America MRQ, it's the same Brazilian and Argentinian teams we've seen. 9Z are missing out. Pretty big. 9Z are not going to have a chance in the major. Yeah. Yeah, then it's just, it's the same. It's a bunch of teams. Asia, Mongols obviously go through as the top team. They go straight into top 16. Then we have it split into regions, and this is where it gets slightly complicated. So Rare Atom, Tyloo, Linvision, and Dog Evil are going through. And the way it's looking, they are going to have 2 spots from their MRQ because of the way it works. And then you have Semperfi, FlyQuest, X-Talon, and Rooster, the way it's looking. And then you have the Huns, Eruption, Chinggis Warriors, and then God's Reign are going to replace Atox in the Greater Asia MRQ.
Okay.
So that's the way it's looking. That's who we have qualified. I did rattle off everybody pretty much now. Anyway, but...
yeah, you even said, I'm ignoring this team, and then said them anyway.
Yeah.
So you technically said everyone.
Yeah, I did say everyone. Yeah, and then it's the usual suspects, and this is how it works now. And if you're unfamiliar with how this works, the MRQ is an online qualifier, which is going to be a Swiss stage. The winners there are going to go into the stage 1 of the major, which is the Swiss stage. The winners there go into stage 2 of the major, which is a Swiss stage, and then the winners there go into stage 3, which is a Swiss stage, and then we go into playoffs. So if you like Swiss stages, this is the major now. I actually thought it would be fun. What if they just threw in like a GSL somewhere in the middle there, like a round robin kind of thing? Just do it, just for fun. Why do we have to have the same format 4 times in a row? But yeah, that's the way it's gonna work, and that's what's happening, and that's happening today. So the invites are going out today, and the MRQ itself starts in a week. Use plural. Start. I think they're parallel to Yalla Compass Qatar, and yeah, that's the way the news goes. Okay. Yeah, it's April 14th to April 17th for all of the regions. Watch that. That's about it. That's everything I had. I just wanted to rattle off like what things were looking like, because a lot of people have been thinking about it in the past few days and weeks.
Ooh, hang on.
Hmm?
Okay, yeah, you did note it down. Never mind. Yeah, sorry, I just saw a headline.
Yep. I put that down.
All right, cool. Look, it's going to be fascinating to see who makes it through.
Yeah. MRQ is super interesting, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some of these teams coming through. Speaking of Vision, though, can they please just get the other twin in the team? Like, we don't need Travis on that team. Get Taxi in. Please.
They could do it. Yeah.
Like, Travis is just bad. Not Travis.
Yep. A couple of fan favorites, which maybe should be mentioned. Astralis just about missed out for stage 2. Game Legion are in. Fnatic are in. Big are in. BetBoom are in, despite being quite horrible online. I feel like every time I pick them for a fantasy, they lose first. m0NESY are in. Solid, I did mention.
Yeah, m0NESY is a big one because for me they've just gone a bit missing. Like we've not seen much of them. They were early on at like that tier 1.5 like thresholds, so we saw them at a real event. They kind of fell off because they weren't able to get an upset in. Basically, they weren't able to make that happen.
Yeah,
but they are an exciting team with the famous IGL, young talents. They're a roster I'm very excited to watch again. Hopefully they can do something.
Yep. So yeah, this MRQ could be interesting. I'm just on a hunch. I'm almost having a bad time picking 8 clear favorites. So I think we're definitely going to have some upset qualifying teams who might not be major and like fully major quality if you were just going straight off the bat. Then again, this is a 32 team major, which is it adds an asterisk if you're comparing to past majors, of course.
Yeah, rightly, because you don't have to do anywhere near as much to get to that point now. In terms of beating top teams, beating all that sort of stuff. It's just more of a grind. But a grind that actually has something at the end of it. Unlike back in the day where tier 2 grinding was just tier 2 grinding for the most part. There wasn't ever much opportunity. Right, that's an interesting set of teams, essentially. But we'll be keeping an eye on it, we'll be following it, or we'll be talking about it, obviously. So tune in for that. We'll be breaking down all the MRQ stuff, all regions. But let's talk about a little certain someone, a little naughty boy, another naughty boy. He's been banned for life. He's said some really stupid, cringy stuff on Twitter that made us all laugh.
This could very well... Oh, sorry. Yeah, never mind. Yes. I should recap the history slightly. Joel was a really solid talent from Sweden. Really solid Swedish talent, young talent, coming up in a bunch of different teams. Godsent maybe primarily. And we have talked about him at length. He has been a prospect a myriad of times. He has been in demo reviews made by you. We made a whole thing about him a couple of years ago. And he has had a series of controversies. First off, he got a short ban for betting on himself. But then that ended and he got a second chance. He used that second chance to get banned by Acros Anti-Cheat ahead of an official. Which is basically the foundation for what E6 investigation, where they basically wanted to echo. Because the Acros ban, in practice, it's a ban from playing pro games because Acros is used in, I wouldn't say all of the events, but it's used in a lot of events. So you're maybe alienating yourself from half the calendar if you can't use Acros. If you're a team like BC Game, where he was playing at the time. Now, ESIC have basically investigated and wanted to make this universal for all ESIC member TOs, and they've used the Acros ban basis for that. And they have found that he did cheat. They have found that he confessed to cheating. There's hard technical evidence. Exactly which cheat he used is named in the article. And it's, I'll just say it, it's called Astefware EFI Bootkit. It's actually not radar. It's actually not like, it's not radar. It's not, I think maybe it's wall lag, but it's actually like an aim bot and a trigger bot. So it's obviously a very good one because we didn't notice.
No, if anything, if you tell me Joel is cheating, I'm immediately going, all right, he had radar. Because for me, the thing that always came off in his demos, and the thing where we had that little chat, we're like, is he cheating? Is that he's just so confident and aware to an extent you wouldn't expect to be possible. And
the way these things work, it's like a cheat kit. There can probably be components of all of it. Like,
I'm not sure. Yeah. Clearly, he wasn't. Like, so I know some people talked about how he might have aim because some games it looks like he's just popping heads. It's like, yeah, Then he looks mechanically very solid on pure land, so I'm not sure about all of that. Like,
yeah.
Just for me, it's a bit odd.
Yeah, right. So what happened is he confessed to cheating. He cooperated with the investigation. And this was a second transgression, but I'm assuming at that point he was looking at a ban which was a couple of years. At that point, it's a pretty standard ban, maybe 2-3 years, maybe 5 years because it's a second offense. In E6 eyes, what he was given as a reward for cooperating was a grace period, so he could find some other line of work without the negative PR of officially being suspended for cheating. I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming they mean if you want to work in esports, if you want to do something like that, you now have the time to find a job before we do that, like on your own time.
Yeah, that'll go over well.
Yeah.
Hey, hire me 2 months later. I was cheating.
No, but I mean, like, it allows him to be like, here's what's happened, and I can lay this forward, and I'm looking to change my life. Would you hire me? Like, that's sort of what
I'd hope so. But given his behavior, probably not.
Probably not. What he instead used that grace period was, maybe he was looking for work and it didn't work out. At the end of the grace period, he fabricated evidence to try to blackmail ESIC into not releasing their investigation. And for that, his ban was extended to be permanent. So, yeah, because it was considered a gross transgression of the integrity code. And he is gone. He is gone.
Oy, oy, oy.
It's actually it's fascinating how long he managed to hang on in the scene, considering how much controversy he's had and how, oh my god, like how many teams he's been on, and even if some of them were short-lived, how long he's been able to play really good, and how much shit he's been caught up in, and he's still around, and only just now he's gone.
Yeah, he was clinging on for dear life, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. Like, I have to say, like, I would seriously doubt he used this boot kit on LAN, and he played an RMR, and he was great.
It was really solid in that RMR.
He was really solid.
That's a part of what we use as, like, in our conversation. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's actually cheating, though. Look at this LAN play. Like, this LAN play's pretty good for a guy this age and, like, this little experience. But then, yeah.
And I can't imagine he's cheated all the time, and probably not the same sheet. Like, it's. I
mean, he had periods on Godsend where he was like 0.9 rated, like 0.96 rated. So that's probably definitely not cheating in that period, was he?
There's anytime somebody gets banned for cheating, the idea is always, oh, they were always cheating, and that's not necessarily true.
Untrue.
Like, probably untrue. But he definitely had good mechanics. He definitely had good stuff. So it's a big shame. He could have been a really good player, but he isn't. So because he's gone,
yeah,
and he's gone AWOL, and yeah, I mean, what have you?
No, it's a frustrating series of events. I called it bozo maxing on Twitter because, well, threatening blackmailing ESIC is just wow.
Attempting to blackmail the Integrity Commission is hilarious. It's
such a piece of shit.
It's among the most sick things I've ever read. It really is.
I don't know. What a knob. What a knob. Anyway.
What a guy.
He's gone. He's gone.
Yeah. There's another word for knob, actually, to segue.
I think there is. It's cock of the week. No surprises, it's Joel, right? It's Joel. It's just Joel.
No, and this is not a recent tweet, this is an old tweet. It was popularized once again because of this. And it's the one where his unban after the betting situation ended. He was able to join TSM. And his choice of communication then was to quote Kobe Bryant, David Goggins, and Martin Luther K. Jr.
I mean, that's the combo, right? That's the trifecta, right? Whenever I'm looking to like prove the haters wrong, stand for something bigger than myself, I really need that trio, because MLK Jr., so inspirational. stood for something truly significant. Kobe Bryant, whilst also a flawed figure in many ways, definitely an inspiration, a hard worker, a grinder. And David Goggins, a nutcase who runs really far through sheer power of will and might be clinically insane, but at least is insane in an awesome way. Like, he's channeled it. Instead of, like, you know, like, if he wasn't running stupid marathons, I'm sure he'd be a serial killer. But instead, he runs really far, and that's great. The fact that he tried to use that as, like, his comeback announcement. It's so ridiculous.
It's really funny in hindsight. It's the Kobe Bryant quote is, "They don't hate the good ones, they hate the great ones." Great cheater, of course. Martin Luther King. I keep saying Martin Luther King. In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. The silence. Yeah. And then the David Goggins quote: "It's easy to win because most motherfuckers are weak."
Which is such a David Goggins quote, but it doesn't apply to you, motherfucker. You're the weakest of all.
Yeah. It's easy to win because I'm cheating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Lord.
It's truly one. It's one for the gallery when we in the Museum of Counter-Strike Twitter.
Hall of Fame, like the Hall of Fame tweets in Counter-Strike history. "I alive" is one of them. The Joel quotes is right next to it.
Yeah. It's you know, yeah, marble pillars and everything, like gold trim around the picture frame. All of it. Just put it up there next to the KNG and
yeah, prove
everything,
it around
everything, and everything Seized has ever said publicly. Just...
Seized is some, yeah. I mean, if we had like a cock Hall of Fame, like right next to Ron Jeremy is Seized's quotes about female CIs.
Everything he's ever said, everything he has ever posted on Twitter.
I mean, that is probably the only thing that makes you think, yeah, maybe we should release all voice comms.
Yeah, just give me, yeah. Honestly, we talked about Zeus. We talked about Zeus being an analyst. Put Seized on. Just do it.
Seized on desk for Impact. Impact land Seized on the desk.
Hell yeah.
Oh, he would be crazy.
Yep. Yeah, Joel, thank you for everything. Nothing of value was lost. I hope you get help.
Meh. Honestly, nah. I mean, I swear his, like, for the longest time, his profile picture on Steam was some sort of, like, rapper or something, like a gangster rapper from Sweden or something.
Oh yeah, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, go, you know, go be in the trap. Like, if you want to be a piece of shit, like, go sell some drugs or something. Get blown up by a Swedish motorcycle gang.
This is not official advice of the Retake the Week podcast.
If you want to be that guy, go be that guy. Yeah. I'm sure you do well on the streets. But all right,
was Zeus high on the stream? Sorry,
he just looked high and spoke high. Right. There's no official confirmation that he was.
I wouldn't put it past him, and that's actually baller as fuck. I'd respect him more for being fired for that.
We did talk about Zeus earlier, so if you want to see the Zeus segment, 35 minutes 41 is the timestamp. Yeah. Because God, what a mess that was.
Yep.
All right. You know what? You can't have a week in Counter-Strike without the eternal shuffle. It never stops. It always comes back. And we're here again. Quacke, where are we starting this week?
Do you want to? Yeah, you want to grade these? We have.
I
put this at the top. I was trying to beat this because the news came out during the show. So I put this at the top. But Passion UA, they've cut Kane and S Chilla, and this was already known, and they added TC and War 2K. Actually, start there because you probably had a bit more days to marinate over that.
I did have a few thoughts. For me, TC joining this team is a bit odd. Just obviously, it's a big shift in culture and personality type to go from Kane, Ukrainian guy, been around forever, one of the founding pieces of what we know to be the Ukrainian scene, like as far as a player, coach, etc. But to bring in TC is now going, okay, something needs to change tactically. Something needs to change in terms of the energy in this roster. We're bringing in a guy who is in a weird spot, seeing that he was cut from Complexity. Like they felt like they needed a fresh start. He's coming into a team that they now need themselves that fresh perspective. And we know in the past he's been a coach on a team that's done some interesting stuff. Like there's not been like poorly run. Like you remember Complexity back in the day, they had nice strats. They had like good use for players. Like it was a well-structured team, going pre-Elige even. But this is now a bit of a mishmash where you're hoping two very disparate elements can come together. And we'll see how he works, because he's playing with, not only is he coaching now a pretty young IGL, he's also got to deal with Waro2K, who is notoriously a strong personality, who has a lot of his own ideas. Great talent to go with it. He's able to really carry a game, but it's tough to marry the two. So it's going to be either a pretty nice click and it all just works and they're able to play a high level of CS, or it's going to be just a bomb. It's just going to explode.
Yeah.
That's where we are. I think it's going to be a very tough combination to make work, but if it does work, I think it'd be pretty cool.
You have a grade? I
just on that part, it's tough to say, but to replace Jambo with Waro, I think it's about as good as you can expect to do. And the coaching change is a bit nebulous. I think it's a risk. I'm going to go B+. I don't want to quite give it A. If it was an A, be an A-. But I think B+ seems fair. Just those two moves in isolation.
Yep, and then we have the move which happened today. Zero Fix is out, and that happened yesterday, I think, and I was like, I put question marks, so like, they're making another move, but who they've signed is actually a banger, and they've signed Demka.
Yeah, that part is huge. That's A+. You bring in one of the best Ukrainian riflers for a rifler who's just had a pretty rough go of it. Oh, look, Virtus Pro absolutely ran through Liquid on Dust 2, called it. But anyway, it's a great move in terms of talent upgrades. This is a Passion UA team who are now looking, they're not quite the dream team Ukrainian roster, obviously. They don't have any of the bait guys, and there's some really strong players on bait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look at it. Jkaem, Kvem, Waro2K, Demka. My biggest issue is now Topa is my IGL. Not in love with him as an IGL, but I do think it's a pretty scary roster. What's a bit alarming is they've gone from being one of the youngest teams to being not particularly young at all, right? They've added a lot of age and a lot of veterancy because they've lost, I think, the best player they had in terms of young guys in Jkaem and Jambo. They've kept Jkaem, who's probably the best rifler, but then they just cut the other young riflers, brought in more veteran players. And it's definitely, I think, like on paper, increased their potential just right now. Like right now, they could go into an event and be a bigger threat. Is it a good long-term move? I don't know. I wasn't that big on Zero Fix and S-Chiller, so maybe. But they've taken a swing for the fences, and hey, fair dues, this could work. I'm a realistic believer in this.
Yep, solid move. We have some breaking news, actually. Because this was originally a dubious rumor over a couple of days that Fnatic were practicing without Crims, but just half an hour ago. Dust2.dk. Crims is reportedly benched, and Borup will play the MRQ for Fnatic as a stand-in.
Yeah, that's...
So you're grading Crims being benched from Fnatic.
I've been calling for like 2 years.
Right? Yeah.
I'm going to be real. I've not been a big believer in the Crims show for a while. I always get told the same thing whenever I bring it up. People are like, oh, but look, he's so solid and he's a veteran. How could you realistically replace him if he's still like above a 0.97 rating or whatever the hell the excuse always was? Like, he's just doing just enough to stay around and you can't undervalue his veterancy. And I was like, I don't think I'm undervaluing it. I never thought he was like that useful in any way. So bring in a player who can frag. I mean, Borup is a weird one, but just by itself, cutting Crims, I'm not got a problem with. I'm just a bit miffed about Borup coming in. Like, I haven't seen him in a while. I don't think he impressed me the last time I saw him play. That's a bit of an odd move.
Been playing with Wild Lotus with Bird from Sky in the gang. Solid, he's been fine. Had better days. He's a stand-in. I'm assuming this means they maybe were looking at somebody but couldn't make it happen. And, you know, they need somebody for the MRQ. The report does not say. But it's a solid move. He's in common. I think it's solid. I'm big on Borup. I think Borup is cracked. I've thought so forever, and this is just one of the ones I have. One of my ones. One of my ones. And,
yeah, he's one of your guys. You can tell he's one of your guys. He's 0.97 rated against tier 3 competition. That's one of Quacke's guys right there. Like,
yep.
He's trying.
It's him, Sonic, Garde. Yeah, it's these kinds of players. Anyway, he's reuniting with Blamef and Castle. So I guess that's actually kind of a plus for me because it's like, okay, they played together at Astralis. They know something. It's not hugely destabilizing things, even if cutting Crimps is a big move. It's not. You're having a pretty good way into it. Like you're having a solid base to work on, I think. So that part I like. I'm not sure about Crimps. I'm not sure. I haven't really judged him in a proper way. Yeah, I've just never seen him be horrible. Like it's not. He hasn't stuck out like a sore thumb. He's sneaky. Like he's like his negative impact is not huge. And Fnatic have also always had bigger issues. So maybe it's just that they're finally getting to deal with Crimps. Because they had leadership problems, they fixed it. They had an Opper who wasn't doing anything, they fixed it. They had 2 Oppers who weren't doing anything. 3 even.
Yeah, in that sense, maybe there was always bigger priorities, but
yeah,
I always felt
I
like
think they've
just rip it apart. I was big on just rip it apart type of approach to making these changes. Like, just why not just also throw out Crims at the time when you're making moves? Like, he's not the hardest player to replace for me in that team. So signing of Borup, whatever. Not that sold, but I am okay with removing Crims, just on principle.
I hope he ends up in eyeballers. I would actually love to see Crims, because that's where, you know, the veterancy that you speak of. That's maybe not doing too much for Fnatic. It's doing it's doing quite a bit more in a team like that.
I mean, they've had JW forever, and it's done sweet fuck all. So I don't know about that.
Yeah, but he's JW. That's like a different story.
They had JW. They'd flush. I don't see why Crims is deserving of different kinds of.
Where else are you going to put him? I won't have the Crims is just going to retire and
retirement home. The retirement home. Like what? A snooze vendor. I don't care. Like just.
I want him to play. I want him to play out his days in eyeballers.
Okay, yeah. Go be 150th in the world. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never wanted to see Poi at tier 1.
Maybe they can. Like, maybe they can be 130th. Like with him.
Yeah,
nothing's happening anyway.
We didn't need Poi in tier 1. It's fine. Just screw him.
Right, I hope he gets it. Anyway, here's the big one. The big one for the week. m0NESY to move to Falcons for reported $2.5 million before the Austin Major.
Jesus. Oh, they're really throwing the money around, and this is going to entirely kill G2 in my eyes. I really don't see how this team is long-term success. I mean, their last game they won without a great m0NESY performance. I guess they 2-0'd Game Legion in a way that we weren't really expecting, and it's, you know, Malbs played well. I mean, there was still a 1.3 rated m0NESY. I don't know. It's tough to say.
It's more still GL as well.
I mean, GL fucking good.
Yeah, but like it's still, if they do it to Spirit,
they beat Rare Atom. That's what they beat. Yeah. Yeah. No, for G2 it's gonna be tough to go to the heights they should be trying to aim for without a m0NESY level player. Given that they have so much dead weight to carry for most series, like in terms of fragging, I am dubious of what m0NESY can actually do on Falcons. Besides reassure Nico that someone else in the team is actually going to shoot the other fucking team.
Yeah.
Because no one seems to be able to, besides Nico. And even Nico has off series. I mean, he's had an off event, really. He's not done that much at this event to prove his value. But to be fair, everyone else has done even less. So I am amused by the price they're paying and wondering how much more they're going to have to actually pay to get this right. By itself doesn't feel like the fix, does it? Just not by itself.
No. I think somebody, I can't remember who it was that posted it, but it's like sometimes when a roster move is reported or it happened, it's like somebody quote tweets it and says, this team is going to win so many events or something similar. But I saw somebody say that like, this team is going to win one studio event before the end of the year. That's like what they said.
Feels about right.
And that's fair. Yeah, it feels about right. So I think there's more moves to be made. A couple of things I'm going to float. For G2, is there somebody, if you disregard the leadership component, like the IGL, let's just magically say Hunter picks up IGL. Is there somebody you would replace Snacks with, like tomorrow?
Anyone.
All right, but like
Prims.
let's say was there a player on 3D Max, perhaps you would be down to replace Snacks with?
I mean, fuck it, throw body in there if you want, but it's just like he's just because he's fine and he speaks English. Like,
I have another trade proposal. Maka +1 for Snacks and m0NESY. He's run circles around G2 before.
I mean, who hasn't in terms of strats? But no.
Right, fine.
No, I don't think that's a great plan. But look, they're trying to beat G2 for crying out loud. They're supposed to be one of the best teams. They're not supposed to be just a team. And like, I don't see how you really build a title-winning roster in that org without cutting like the IGL, the coach, and trying again with a different combo. And probably at this point, if Hunter's going to be such an important person to the team's philosophy, possibly even cut Hunter. Like just to make sure there's no like negative voice, there's no other idea that's out of date and annoying and just too present. You know what I mean? Like he's just got too much presence in the team. Maybe get rid of him. But for me, there's no 1-for-1 in terms of just cut Snacks, give Hunter IGL, and you can bring this player in and magically work.
Yeah.
I don't know. m0NESY's a big void to fill, given the up and down results and also level we've seen out of Malbs and Heavy God. I think there's bigger issues to fix, but that one is just rough to figure a way out of.
G2 are the ones who need to take a chance on somebody like Grix or Moladoy.
Yeah, give those guys the chance to develop a player from nothing. That's gonna.
No, but like
they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it terribly though.
If they're gonna be G2, that's if you have to replace the talent, and you're not gonna do that with anybody. Especially for Oppers right now, you're not gonna do that with anybody who's a Torji or a Ultimate. You're gonna have to look far down. You're gonna have to look at finding a. No, but
just to go back to that terrible take.
All right. I have another thing though I wanted to bring up briefly for Falcons.
Sure.
We talked about Magisk being mid earlier.
Yeah, he's just been struggling, hasn't he?
Recently available on the market, JKS. IEM Cologne and Katowice champion with Nico and m0NESY.
I don't hate it. I actually don't hate it at all.
I like it.
He's had strong form in 2025.
Yeah.
Why not? Literally, why not?
I like it. The way I first saw this was like Swanee posted a tweet with like, oh, only one of the players who he won Cologne and Katowice with is now Hunter. But that sort of got me thinking like, oh, Hooksy's available, JKS is available. And I'm not sure I'd want to cut Kixon for Hooksy right now, but JKS for Magisk I'd absolutely do.
With Zonic at the helm, I don't see it happening. But if I'm the GM, yeah, I wouldn't mind trying that. Given JKS's track record with Nico, given his track record at the top level this year, it might be worth a try.
I think so. There's no other benefits to it. There's no VRS benefit anymore. There's no way to get a wild card.
Yeah, but no, doing this before the major is the wild part. Because I thought this would happen. We all thought this would happen, but post-major, right? We thought G2 would have a full run with this team. The fact that this might happen before the major And Falcons will go in with what is not really a team that threatens you in terms of, oh, we love the way they play, they're a dangerous team. It's more like they will just have 2 potentially top 5 players and just try to win outright with talent. Pose a very different threat, because currently they pose 0. That is at least some. It's a step up in their threat level, and that's going to be tough to deal with, I think, for a lot of teams. Just because you now no longer can just say, oh, they're just Falcons. They're here because of some BS with the Valve ranking.
Yeah.
We can't disregard them anymore, and it's tough to game plan in terms of what exactly you're going to face. If it's just Nico and m0NESY figuring it out.
This is kind of a light version of what I think G2 was when they had JKS and m0NESY, because what we talked about, they were so top heavy that when they clicked, they could win anything, but they weren't able to be consistent.
Yeah, the floor was abysmal.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, to me, this feels like this is a team which is still going to have a pretty, not as low a floor, but kind of low. And when things click, they're not going to win anything, but they're going to win something. Like, it's kind of like, yeah, like a studio event. It's not going to win Cologne, but it's right. That was the move. I don't know if we've been giving grades for these past 2 ones, but I'll just move on. Eternal Fire. This is hard for you to grade. Eternal Fire have moved to Aurora, and the Russian roster is benched.
Yeah, there's not much to grade here. It's more of an admin sort of move.
Yeah.
So obviously Aurora, good job. You got yourselves into the major. You got stickers.
Yeah.
Basically, like 10 out of 10 for you. As far as Eternal Fire, that was not really much of a team, was it? Like,
well, I mean, they were in a solid position.
but the problem is just financially, they weren't that big.
Yeah.
They weren't able to get that much going sponsor-wise. Woxic hinted at it. That's just kind of the reason this all went down.
Actually, some interesting context here, which I read, which I'm not sure if it's true, but their CEO his nickname is m0NESY, and that's the name. So in Turkey, there's as far as I understand, a full-on blanket ban on gambling. You can't have gambling sponsors, and they had gambling sponsors. They had. So here's what I read. Apparently, they were able to get the key drop and pirate swap sponsors because Incon had connections to government, and shit hit the fan when Eternal Fire players were agreeing with protests going on under Erdogan, and his connections got pissed and had to sell to Aurora. They were barely making anything to begin with, and now they can't have those sponsors anymore. Supposedly. So so it could be something, and that's like one of the reasons they moved.
Okay.
Yeah, hard to grade, but that's interesting context actually. And I guess now they're owned by Aurora. The Russian roster supposedly is sticking together. For everybody who's saying Grix should be picked up somewhere, and I think Patsy said they almost have an org. So I'm assuming.
Yeah, those were his words, which is a bit of a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really hope we see Grix somewhere, because he feels like just a player just needing that extra level of competition, like that next step. It's like he's outgrown the place where he's stuck. He just needs to move on. So I'm hoping they don't just sign for another org and keep playing as this exact 5. But at the same time, they're obviously going to want to keep him. Like they want it to work. And if you're a team signing this group, if Grix isn't coming with them, not that fussed. Like nowhere near as invested in having that roster. So we'll have to see what comes out of that. Just because Grix is the selling point.
Yeah.
Clear and plain.
Moving on. Actually, give a grade for this real quick. GGHow have added Issa and Osamas, and we've been seeing this for the past couple of weeks. But yeah.
GGHow. This is an awkward one to grade. Like, if you look at
it's funny they've carried on this long.
Yeah, it is. That is a strange thing. Like, the changes they've made have been kind of all over the shop. And they've gone back to essentially just being fully Middle Eastern. I guess B. I don't think you lose much. I don't think you gain too much. It's just an odd change.
I think it's interesting because of the fact you now have basically every single talented player from the Middle East.
Every real talent that we rate as a duo. Like, when we talk about these guys, we're like, oh yeah, m0NESY's pretty cool, pretty young, up and coming. Borrow's cracked as fuck. Shame his one opportunity with Falcons was squandered on childishness, but
Yeah.
there was something
And
there.
Into the breach. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Breach too. Osamas has put up huge numbers in games before. We've seen. I mean, Issa had a real stint in Tier 1 pretty much years ago,
Yeah.
and he's clearly far from that level, but he's a big name and with significant experience. It's not nothing. So
Yeah.
we do like them as a roster in terms of the individual pieces.
Yeah, I like Bibu and Mini as well. Mini especially, I think is really
Yeah, Mini's cool.
Cool,
Bibu, yeah, I mean, he's the IGL, right?
okay.
I think so.
Think about that.
But it's just a...
Issa, apparently.
Oh, okay. Then he's just playing support roles.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked him on the NASA days because I thought he was leading. I think he was leading on NASA, right? With Boros.
Might have been.
Realize, that sort of era. But look, we're going to see them at a Middle Eastern qualifier, basically. We're going to see them occasionally go through some Asian games and win. Maybe if there's like smaller events where they get to flex their muscles against like a Semper Fi, they'll be able to get some wins. They're a dangerous little team, but it just feels like a bit of a sad situation to see like Boros in. Like realistically,
Sure.
It's like, oh cool, all the Middle Eastern talents here, including the one guy I thought could have a Tier 1 career, like a real Tier 1 career. That's a shame.
That's a shame. Copenhagen Wolves have, in addition to losing Andu, they've lost Shane and they've added Mateos and Quez.
Yeah, Mateos is essentially the Andu replacement. For those who don't know who Mateos is, he came across my radar playing for is it LFO3? I think the team was called LFO3.
Yeah, with Behind X and Chill.
Yeah, playing against Molodoy's Amcal in advanced playoffs. I was watching those demos. And Mateos was actually banging. Like, he was banging Amcal's heads off. And I was like, oh, crap, this guy's tidy. Like, I'm watching him like as an entry fragger, as an openings player, like finding these kills over and over again. I was like, damn, okay, they've got a little something here. Then I saw him picked up by Copenhagen Wolves as their Andu replacement because Andu's loan runs out. And I'm like, worth a try. That's actually a fairly good pickup. I'll give them an A for that. Like, in terms of scouting, finding a player who's like lower down in the scene, that's a pretty nice pickup. I appreciate that one. Quez, can I escape Quez? Why is Quez always popping up everywhere? In terms of the teams I follow, just like, oh, here's Quez.
Yep.
It's like as soon as things start going wrong, Quez shows up. Unfortunately for the guy, every time he shows up, things have been going wrong. So I see him as kind of like the final horseman of the apocalypse. Just like, all right, it's over. Fuck. Project dies. No offense, Quez. Sure, you're a lovely guy, and I'm sure it's a coincidence. But in that case, I had to, just because he's showed up, I have to downgrade it to like a C, maybe a D, because I like Shane as well. So
yeah,
no, weird move. But Quez, come on, man. The coincidences, they can't be all coincidences.
Shane has supposedly moved on to a different project, but I'm actually curious who in Copenhagen Wolves is doing the scouting, because we know a bit about the owner. They're actually the New Jersey Wolves, because it's some real estate kid, like some kid basically my age who.
Yeah, I remember this story. Yeah.
Look, all right, I'm not gonna put words in his mouth, but the way I've understood the reporting on all of this is that he comes from money, and he bought the brand for a good chunk of money, and since then he's been running it. But I'm wondering who does the actual management of the roster, because they're actually not bad. Like, it's hit and miss, but there's some solid players who end up playing for this team. Like, getting the Andu load is a really solid move. I think scouting players like Mateos and Bielani is like, Bielani hasn't been that huge, but like he's been solid so far, and it's somebody that most people probably wouldn't look at. Same with Mateos. They landed Shane and Fesser in the first place. That's like old Tier 1 Academy players. And then, like, you know, that's solid management. That's management that I think maybe they're just putting a lot of money on the table. I don't know. But, like, that's management that a lot of other teams at this tier probably couldn't swing, I think. So that's good. I'm wondering who is doing that. Like, who. And I'm going to try to find out after this.
Yeah, no. Impressive recruiting. So, yeah. Hopefully it works out. Yeah. Copenhagen Wolves keep popping up, playing decent games. Yeah. Not bad recovery after losing a player in Andu who I thought was really strong.
Not at all. This move, I put this lower down because we already talked about this and now it's made official. JKS is out, Shui is in on loan until after Austin. Have you seen their games and what do you think?
I haven't watched them because we've been doing this, and yesterday's supposed to be my day off. I've seen the results.
Yeah.
I've seen the vibe. I've seen the energy. They seem pretty wank. So far, it's pretty bad.
They do seem kind of wank. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'll work out better. We all believe it'll be better than this in the long run. But yeah, so far so terrible. All I can say about it.
Yeah.
Not great. But look, he's barely had any time, I think, to really work anything out. Is my understanding of this. And the 2-0 loss to Legacy, whilst rough, like they have talent. If you're not playing good structured CS, if you're not able to really, understand what the others want to do, what's being called, you're a bit discombobulated, they can just bang you out, and they did. And then the VP one's pretty similar, because, Mirage, cool, you can make it work sometimes. If you're like a bit of looser team, structure's not quite there, they go to OT, not OT. That's cool. But trying to make that happen on the other team's pick, I said it was going to happen. They're going to get run through. They did. They just look like a team who are kind of in disarray, trying to figure out their identities, their positions, everything else right now. I expect it to work in future. Yeah. I expect it to work pretty quickly, actually, over the course of the next 2-3 months. See, this is usually how it's supposed to happen when you make an IGL shift, right? It's not usually the mouse effect. And very rarely do we actually get like a honeymoon when it's an IGL shift, especially. Like, that's usually kind of rough. So, yeah. Pretty predictable, though still I think, overall positive move.
Yep. This is a rumor, and I only put it in because it was funny. m0NESY and Grix are interesting options to replace Slend on Gamer Legion and Fallen, I guess, on Furia.
Furia? Weird. That's a half story if it is, because there's no way you're just cutting Fallen for an AWPer. Especially if you're switching languages. Like, you'd be going full international, you'd be making more changes, you'd be doing something else. But, yeah. Furia minus Fallen. Minus...
Assuming that's it. Maybe he's rifling, and that would be an instant F.
Yeah, that's just terrible. No, but
if
cut
you're cutting...
half the team, cut the coach, bring in a coach IGL, and bring in that AWPer, go fully international... Keep Queserato, keep maybe Skulls, fuck everyone else. Like, maybe there's a path there. But
it'd be quite a Furia move if they cut Cello for m0NESY, switch to English speaking, which is a language neither party on this team would be pretty. I don't think they would be very well versed in it. And then Fallen rifles.
That would be very Furia. You're right. That's what they're doing. I believe it now.
Yeah.
That's so them. That's terrible.
Yep.
They do it. But yeah, no, this is a Haruma. I don't put any stock in it. I don't really care.
Either. Would you like to see one of these players instead of Slend?
If you can tell me you can have Grix instead of Slend, I'll take it. And I think m0NESY may be more mechanically talented, but I think the gaps we've seen would mean he's a bit of a project player. And I want Gamer Legion to make more win now moves, considering the talent they currently have and the way they're playing. So I don't know. I don't think it wouldn't work, because I think Ash is a good coach. m0NESY's cracked. I just think it'd take a little too much focus on figuring out like his game and bringing him up to speed on how they should be playing. That it'd be a distraction for like a good chunk of the year where they should be competing and going progressively deeper and deeper events. I mean, look, you got some of the hottest riflers in the scene right now. Not in terms of maybe all the way up to tier 1, like the very top end, but like in terms of teams who are outside the top 4. PR Res right now, awesome. Absolutely insane. So I'd focus on getting the most out of that before I try to rejig everything again.
Yep. All right. Made official. OG now have an offer. It's Nikodos.
D.
Really?
It's Nikodos.
Actually, slightly lower than I thought. Nikodos has been solid with them so far.
D.
He's actually already played 75 maps with the team, and he's 113 rated. Pretty good.
D.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. I think he's fine for OG. OG can make the major with him, but they can't make the next stage of the major.
Yeah, to be fair, if I put it in the OG context, maybe it's a C. But still, D.
Yeah.
It's fun to see this OG project finally flourish, actually, under Crizzen. It took a while. It took a while to get things, like, confirmed and solid and good. And they're actually playing fairly well. I can't lie. I can't lie.
Yeah, it's been a very slow descent over time from the highs of, I guess. But, like, it's if you check the ranking thing, okay, so they're pretty solid within the top 20 for most of their tenure. Up and down, up and down. Sometimes they're better, sometimes they're worse. And then comes March 2023, when they still had m0NESY and Degster, and there was a Neofrag roster. Then it's just like, you could draw a trend line, which is very slowly trending downwards for over 2 years. But now they have a good string of results, because they have, I mean, they've restarted, basically. They have Buzz, they have Chris, and they have Book, which I think is maybe in pieces. And now they have an Opera who can maybe actually deliver something solid. Something minimum, something bare minimum. It's welcome back, Mantu. I feel about like Nikolas a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Nikolas' peak, to be fair, in Flames was fairly solid. Like,
yeah, and Mantu is another one of my guys. So if he can be a second Mantu, good job.
Yeah.
BC Game have released Lekro, and I only put this in because I kind of wanted to discuss if maybe Lekro could end up somewhere, because I think he is maybe slightly better than he's given credit for.
I disagree. Anyway, next.
You wouldn't put him anywhere.
You and your old fucking Swedes. I don't care. Go away.
Look, I got a comment the other week, and somebody said, "Oh, I really like your podcast. It's nice to finally see one where someone is biased for Swedes. So actually, this is giving us views. Put him in a team.
Don't care. Don't care.
All right,
just do not care for it.
The Huns, we care about this team now. They've cut Vekil and they've added Zerolte.
Zerolte.
I know his name. I've never known how to say it.
I mean, Vetsil was garbage. So, you know, fair enough. Addition by subtraction. Plus, Zerolte's dropped to 1.26 in limited maps, so
yeah,
A+.
Yeah, they put him back. Zerolte was here before, I just realized. Even until earlier this year, I think. Yeah, they cut him in March. Now he's back.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder. Oh, no, okay, never mind. He wasn't on Atox. I thought maybe this was one of those, what we talked about in the pre-show, about how Yami is able to play despite being part of the team, which is provisionally suspended for match fixing at his league, supposedly. So...
yeah, no, cool.
Yeah.
Weird one, just weird little cycle of players, but no, Vekil, Vesil was horrible, so it's fine.
Yep. Good job. Finally, this is a report from Dust2 Brazil, which is supposed to be credible. Pain are in negotiations to sign DGT from m0NESY.
Who's he coming in for again? You told me.
They benched Kawaz.
That's
they're
it.
Playing with a random academy kid.
Yeah, I don't mind this. Obviously, DGT was solid on m0NESY for a long time. I believe the time he's cut, he's calling for the team, right? Around the time he's cut?
No, you keep confusing this. Max is a caller.
Max calling, thank you, yes.
The only other Uruguayan player in the world.
Pretty much, yeah. But he was on that team for so long and played pretty damn well. This is pretty cool. I'd be very excited to see this Pain.
We were super surprised. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, we were super surprised when DGT got benched. So maybe he just got fed up with playing for a shit team, and now he wants to go to a good team.
He wants to change things up. That's fair enough. Things get stale. You get all tired of the same routines with the same people. I think it's a good addition if Pain make it happen.
Yeah, he's back with the David Days as well. They had a good run on a half decent run at least on together when he was there.
Yeah, no. It's a
NQZ. I didn't even realize this. This is reforming an old core. NQZ was also there at the same time.
No, nice.
Actually cool. All right, yeah. That's the shuffles.
That's all of them. Nice. They took fucking forever. Okay.
Yeah, they did.
It's a lot of shuffling.
Yep. I didn't even mention that Gump got benched.
Oh, shut up. All right. Prospects of the week. Pick a prospect. Stop talking nonsense.
My prospect is Peepo, because he has done it on LAN this week.
Which LAN?
Yeah, we've talked about the tip sport thing, which we actually shout out quite often because it's a cool thing.
It's a pretty cool event.
Yeah, they won the thing, and he beast moded. They didn't lose him. They lost one map to Unity, but that was it. And I think that was also the one map where he was playing bad. That's what they played this week, and yeah, it was the loss to Unity is his one bad map. He's got a 148 average on LAN, and it's domestic, but he plays Eklot, and Unity aren't that bad. And it's actually, again, this LAN, it's pretty cool. There's a crowd. I think they're in Prague. It's like there's a... they're in Prague. The venue they're in is actually pretty cool, and there's a bunch of people who show up in Prague, and it's a really cool event. It's a bit of pressure, especially knowing that the MRQ was kind of on the line. They missed it still, but they had a chance, and he delivers. Really good.
Yeah, a strong performance. This is, I mean, the Tip Sport Cups are where we find players like m0NESY for the first time really starting to pop out. It's an awesome...
Mahar was there once?
Hmm?
Mahar? He was there once. I think that was like the first time I ever noticed Mahar was when he played Tip Sport.
Maybe playing with Tagged in that little mixed team they had.
Prodigies. Yeah, Prodigies.
Well, the Prodigies showed up there. I mean, that's with Tagged, but yeah.
Yeah. That's the first time I noticed him.
Tip Sport. Did they play Tip Sport?
Pretty sure they did.
Oh no, I'm not seeing it, but it's fine. He might not have been then. No, he played. So he played with Aves. He didn't play with.
Oh yeah, with Aves.
But that is with. It's not even with Tagged at this event. But no, you do find some little like young players coming through. You see the development of the Czech scene. It's a cool little LAN.
Yeah.
Sort of thing I'd be down to actually showing up to one day just to chill, just show up in Prague. Obviously, like, it'd be one of those things where it's like, oh, we should go to Prague. Yeah, it'd be great. Girlfriend's like, okay, I'll pack everything up and show up. Just like, welcome to Tip Sport Cup Spring.
I've always wanted to go to Prague.
Yeah, she's just staring at me, just furious the entire time.
Yeah. It's just a really cool spot we should go to. They have like,
up and coming, it really is.
I assume they serve beer. If there's a LAN in central Prague.
It's a location with a name in Prague. It's a location with a name in Prague. They serve beer. What do you mean?
Yeah.
It's half the appeal of going there. Like, come on, it's the great beer.
Yeah,
but all right. That's a good pick. Peepo, a little bit of a talent. To be honest, when he was first signed with Sinners, I was like, who on earth are you? And then I watched a couple games. I was like, you know what? There's a little something to this player.
Yeah, because he started with he came in and he was nobody, and then he started off with a couple of good maps, and it's like, this is good, but let's see how he does over like a greater period of time. Again, I don't think it's been massive. He's 106 overall since joining, but having this kind of a LAN performance is amazing for a player who is 20 with very little experience prior to Sinners.
Yeah,
that's solid.
Great debut. All right, I've picked the most obvious prospect of the week. We talked about him like 12 different times in this show, so you know who he is. It's Grix. He's had a banger of a week. To be fair, when's he not having bangers for his week? Realistically, he has bangers for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No mash required. It's just Counter-Strike. Yeah, absolute beast of an AWPer. When he was on the Aurora Youngbloods roster, I remember making the critique, not so much of him, but of the team. When I had to watch the demo, I'm like, this team don't play great CS, and it's rather annoying to watch. But for example, he unscoped, walked up top mid, if I'm remembering correctly, got peeked from long, and just quick-scoped it. I was like, what is that? Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure he got swung by the long cubby and just quick-scoped that guy as well. And I was like, all right, fuck it, this guy's insane. Like, insane combat AWPer. Really strong on a rifle and a pistol too. There's nothing he can't do. Plays the game in the right way overall as well. So yeah, Grix, absolute unit, just an absolute monster. Not underrated anymore. Probably was for a little bit, briefly, during the Aurora Youngblood days. But you know, everyone with a CS2 caster in their bio on Twitter has tweeted about them now. Like,
yeah,
he's no longer
because everybody's watched him, and it's it's gonna be. He is the guy that everybody's now saying should either replace m0NESY or should replace broky or should replace whoever is replacing m0NESY or broky.
Or who should replace Slend? Who should replace anyone who should be replaced? Who's an AWPer?
Yeah, Fallen.
Replace
Fallen
Griggs.
apparently.
Yeah, Fallen. I mean, I would. I'd take the language risk if I just replace Fallen.
Honestly, it's not great. Just don't talk at all and just let him do
just let him do whatever the hell he wants.
Yeah.
And let him call you whatever the hell he wants as well.
Yeah, but yeah. Oh, I wonder if he's I wonder if he's like that. Because I think it's kind of hit or miss when you get CIS players. Because Tenir, he seems like pretty timid. He seems like he's not the kind of guy who shouts at his teammates. But then you also have people like, who am I thinking of? Like somebody like who just sort of.
You're also thinking about Flamus as well. Like I know you're thinking of Flamus,
Flamus
in a way.
Yeah, they're on my balls.
Yes. But no, Griggs, mega talented, will be an absolute stud when he finally does make it into tier 1, I'm sure. And can't wait. But all right, that wraps up the show. If you're joining us live, thank you. If you're watching the VOD and you made it this far, you're my hero. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed. Leave a comment with your thoughts on all these moves, all this nonsense, all these wild Bucharest games. And yeah, so if you want to see more content, become a member if you want bonus content, extra rights, all that good stuff.
Sponsor us with hemorrhoid cream.
And sponsor us if you have a brand of hemorrhoid cream. All right. See you next week.